Okay, apparently we're on. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, if you want to get involved, the link's in the chat. Just hop on. Let's talk. Sorry if I'm not talking much at the moment. I'm literally just trying to sort something out quickly. I will be with you real soon. Oh, Vohan's in. Hey, man. How's it going? Oh, I can't hear you. Are you talking? Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, I had it.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
You can hear me now.
Oh, there's a lot of noise there.
Yes.
Are you moving your microphone around?
No. What's it sound like?
Oh, it sounded like if someone was moving a microphone, but it sounds all right now. I think it's cleared up.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
No, I don't know what happened.
Anyways, let's get some more
Oh
people
man,
in
what
here.
happened? He fucking didn't. He didn't want any of it, did he?
Okay, well, I mean, like, yeah, thinking back on it, I mean, like, obviously, I thought, I was doing my best for the animals, which is obviously why I do this. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I mean, I kind of wish that I'd been a bit calmer at
Maybe
times,
a bit
but
more tactical.
yeah, I wish that, that I don't know, like, I think it's because, it's something that I really do care about. And when people are making really ridiculous things, especially because I've been doing this all day as well. I've actually been doing the Cube of Truth, Anonymous for the Voiceless. So I've been talking to people all day about this. Um, so I think, yeah, I think it kind of just all came out and I probably took out on him a bit. But
No,
um,
no. It's basically you were actually talking about the actual realism of everything, and he didn't want to hear it. It wasn't. It was just like, "Oh, I don't want to hear." Or, I don't want. And it's a similar thing when I talk to people about. Do you actually know what goes on? They don't want to hear it, and that was the same. I thought that was a similar thing.
yeah, I think so. Because, like, yeah, there was quite a lot of stuff that he didn't answer. And, like, you're saying, like, I'm kind of shaming him or making him feel guilty or something. But I mean, I think people can only feel guilty if they feel guilty.
Yeah,
If,
it's like I'm offended.
yeah.
Like you're offended because you feel offended. I didn't make you feel offended.
Mm,
That's something you've done yourself. It's a projection.
yeah.
Like, oh, you're shaming me. No, you're feeling shame because you're feeling guilty about it yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just telling you what's actually going on.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
that's what you were doing.
cause
That's what I thought.
I actually like Adam. I think he's a nice guy, and I do find his videos like really entertaining and stuff. I think, yeah, I think I don't know, with this debate as well. I think one of the other things that's wound me up just recently is we're just generally in debates just talking about logic all the time, and it's just like going on about the logic of morality and this kind of stuff. And sometimes I just want to go, look, if you want to talk about veganism, let's talk about veganism. I want to talk about the animals. I want to talk about what they're going through. I want to see whether you think what they are going through is justified. And yeah, as soon as you start talking about that, then that's when you start, because he was coming out, with silly things, like, oh, but they taste good, and it's just like they might have,
Yeah,
might as well just said bacon though, kind of thing,
yeah.
Uh,
But you brought up a good example. You can't say it tastes good as an argument because anything could taste good, but that doesn't mean it would justify. Doesn't justify anything, does it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I think I think in a way, as much as I got worked up and everything, I think I tested him on arguments that he hadn't had in the way that like I got him on a real like vegan meat eater debate rather than a logic debate, and hence why things like but it tastes good and stuff comes out, because that's what tends to happen when you put people in those positions. Like the kind of internal defense almost kicks in, and they'll say anything they can to justify it. As soon as I don't care about the logic.
yeah, I kind of wish you wouldn't have let him shut you down. I don't blame you for doing it. Obviously, you're a respectful guy, but maybe you should have said, "All right, let's talk about the environmental issues then," and
Yeah,
ask them, "Do you mean
yeah.
climate change and all that?"
No, I mean
But
there's lots of stuff I wish I wish I'd had longer, to be honest.
oh no, it was a bit unfair really. You kind of got shut down early because you didn't he didn't like your arguments, which is
No,
quite funny really that he didn't like them, so he
yeah,
shut you down instead of trying to actually
I know, and
debate you on
I
them.
did ask a really simple question, like, do you do you need meat? to survive. I thought it was fairly straightforward. But I can only
Don't
do
get
I can only,
none of your business, Chris. None of your business.
yeah. I mean, I can only do what I can do, and yeah, in the end, like my kind of mindset going into this was like, if I'm not going to turn him vegan, I at least want people like his viewers and stuff to watch this and know about what veganism is and about what the animals are going through, and not just hear 2 hours of going round in a circle about in group, because that isn't doing nothing for the animals. And yeah, like I said, the reason I do all this is for them. I want them to have benefit. So I'd rather, it's like I think I said it in the stream, like what Gary Yourofsky said. Speak about them in the way you'd want to be spoken about if you were them. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty much what I did, I guess.
yeah. I kind of just feel like, why wouldn't he? Why? I feel like he just got so defensive, and I think this is like a normal thing when people are confronted about stuff that they actually know might not be right,
Yeah,
but they just carry on with what everyone else does
yeah,
and don't think about it. And I think it's quite ironic that he applies that as one of our axioms, as he says, don't think about it too much. When I actually think that's probably one of his axioms, not
yeah.
to think about it too much.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess my only regret in the whole thing is I wish I'd had a little bit more tact, gone a little bit in, not
No,
so
you did well.
not so hard, but I can only do what I can do. It's all done now anyway, and we're all friends, so it's all fine.
Holy shit, it went crazy with Ash yourself though, didn't it?
I didn't even know what was going on there, to be honest. I kind of just like
Well, I think everyone was struggling to follow what was going on
yeah.
because
I mean, that was between Isaac and yeah, philosophical vegan. I just let them guys hash it out. I was pretty much just trying to tell people to go vegan in the chat and just link them to challenge22.com. I thought, we're just going to use this time constructively. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I kind of felt like I don't know. Maybe that should have been its own stream with those guys. They could have hashed it out properly
I know,
and talked
yeah,
about it.
no, yeah, I agree.
'Cause I think we kind
He's
of
trying to get it all done in one.
yeah.
So there's
Because
not.
I think even with philosophical vegan, I mean, obviously, I mean, I got the half an hour, which was said, which was fine. But then philosophical vegan, I don't think really he had all the time that he wanted to talk about the subjects he wanted to talk about. So even he got cut short as well. But hey, this is the nature of the game. This is what happens.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like Ash yourself, Isaac. Like, I really like his videos. I really like the way he murks corners, as he likes to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but he doesn't half come across as a bit, whoa. You know what I mean?
He's just
Like,
he's a passionate guy. I think that's what it is. He just really
yeah, and he's really intelligent as well. And when people aren't following what he's going on about, that frustrates him
mm,
but what you got to realize that a lot of us aren't going to be able to follow what he's going on about. I was actually following it, but the problem was I wanted to hear what that philosophical vegan had to say, but
yeah.
it seemed like Isaac was cutting him off because he was going off rail, and that might have been the case. He might have been going off topic.
Yeah,
Um,
like I said, I really don't know this kind of stuff. Like all the philosophy, logic talks. I know the basics and stuff. But when it starts getting into what the stuff they're talking about, I have no idea. I just let them get on with it and chat away. Sometimes I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I couldn't even comment on this if I wanted to.
I struggled a bit. I was vaguely getting it, but I
Yeah,
wasn't. The chat distracts me, man, and I struggle to focus on two things at once. So when you were on, I had it in the background and I could listen. But if I start reading the chat, I don't know. My brain's a bit weird. Like if I start reading something,
yeah,
I can only focus on one thing at once.
yeah.
So
Actually, well, as we've got other people in the chat, how did Flem and Nicholas think the debate went? Any comments?
Yeah, I think we're falling victim to charisma. Like people think that FriendEd's nice and he's funny. I understand that, but the amount of times he has dodged, he has tried to change the subject, he has then deflected. I'm confused as to why anything but charisma is like seeping through and just stopping us from just engaging with it. I don't know what it is. It's just like how he said that you were shaming him when you were asking questions, how it was none of your business when you asked if we needed meat to survive. I don't know how that can really be taken seriously. I don't know. I'm struggling.
That's all right. How about you, Nick? Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to re-review the actual debate. I didn't really actually get a lot of time to listen to it.
Okay.
However, it kind of seems like the dialogue just gets cut short because FriendEd kind of jumps around a bit, and it makes it kind of hard to zero in on ask yourself when he wants to focus on one subject, make sure that it's hashed out, because there's a way in which FriendEd kind of jumps around and it makes it very difficult to follow. I mean, I can see where he's coming from, but I don't know, it's just kind of like, yeah, I was talking with my friend Age J on Facebook, and how did she word it? She said, he talks in this sort of, he kind of backwards rationalizes his arguments. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but it was pretty on point. Let me go ahead and pull it up here real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But go ahead. You guys can talk. I don't want to hold you guys back.
That's all right.
I'll let you know.
Bertie, are you online? Oh.
I'd just like to quickly say about the none of your business. I mean, how is that even an argument?
Yeah,
I'm asking a simple question.
Literally none of your business. Like, how dare you, Chris? How fucking dare you?
How dare you, Chris?
Why would you ask that, Chris?
I'm sorry.
I'm serious.
I'm really rude.
Why would you ask if we need meat to survive? Frankly, I'm disgusted. That's why you fucked up.
I'm so yeah. I'm really rude sometimes. I apologize.
No, I think he didn't want to answer that question, because if he would have went down Chris's logical reasoning of it, do you need meat to survive? No, you don't. So is it unnecessary to cause these creatures harm? And then he would have had to say, well, yeah. Like, what are you doing it for then?
Yeah, there was a lot of those kind of areas. Like, I was really pushing it. The funny thing is, like, he does contradict himself like so much, because like he said at one point about he finds like factory farming to be really bad. So obviously he does care about animals in some way. So we can't just see them as amoral, because if they were amoral, he wouldn't care about factory farming. It wouldn't be a problem.
And that's kind of where we get into the whole backwards rationalizing. I mean, if he has a concession, you can't go into these other like meta categories. He seems to go into meta ethics a lot and use it as some sort of a like segue to get people off of talking about categories. And it's strange. It's like, okay, you have given a concession, so now what? Like, so you've effectively lost that part of the debate, or discussion. There's really no backing out of it. I mean, unless you have some sort of logic to back it. A concession is a concession, straight up. So I don't know, it's a little silly to me. It's a little almost childish.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been kind of lurking his Twitter a little bit. I haven't really commented much. I stood up for him in a comment. I'll pull it up. But yeah, go ahead. It's just interesting. That's all.
Yeah. So do you think the reason why he wouldn't answer the question is because he was offended, or he realized it was a way of him being like exposed? So if he would have,
you can't really get an admission that he's wrong on it. Like, I honestly think that something is holding him back from admission. And like, honest to God, that's kind of how I started off towards veganism. I was constantly debating vegans. I was constantly backwards rationalizing, trying to create some sort of meta-ethical argument to I guess, invalidate people. And then I found Ask Yourself, and I was like, okay, I need to not do that. Like this is, it's pretty clear that the ethics are in line with veganism. Like, in group, oh, you're not in my in group, so therefore it's okay for me to kill you, and then using the same justification for killing, you know,
Mm.
it, it's just, I don't know. It's a strange argument, like
I think I
I
actually,
think
rejecting
I
the
think
same
I actually
argument.
managed to, like, I mean, I could have gone further with the actual logical argumentation because I think because I did get what his argument was about, the in-group
Sure.
thing and he's saying that you'd be outside of your in-group, but that's when he just started being stupid and he wouldn't really give any proper reasons for why animals weren't in the in group or anything like that. And I think that's just what this wider society. I was just like, right, I'm just going to tell you what happens, mate, and then just leave you to. I'm just going
Yeah.
to lay down some facts if you're not going to give me some answers.
I think the problem was as well that Friended seems to fall back on humor, and I think when you give a straight question, he doesn't like it, and because if he can fall back on humor, then it's almost like you can then forget everything that's just been said. Like someone will bring up a good point and be like, yeah. Anyway, I don't care. Like it's, and I think you mentioned how you came in a bit more like hostile than you thought you would. Like maybe because you weren't like willing, you just wanted to get down to brass tacks. I don't think I don't
I
think
think
that was.
Liam Anthony is making a great point
What's
right here.
what's Liam saying?
Yeah, Liam brought that
It's
up.
willful ignorance. It's like precisely that. I mean, there are some people that just choose. Like, I don't remember who said it. I believe it was it Vegan Gains, or maybe it was Liam. But someone basically said that he conceded that, like, he just loves the taste of meat, and that, he realizes that his arguments are poor, but he's just like, I don't know, like he's still going through with it, so clearly he has some sort of um an idea of like how to debunk veganism, or he's trying to find some sort of loophole. But I mean, people obviously aren't buying it. The like to dislike ratios know all, and obviously the comments and the feedback and the likes to dislikes ratio, like these things are pretty objective. Like, I mean, I don't want to appeal to like just the like the general consensus, but I mean, logic knows all. Logic stands through. I don't know.
Hey, Chris, did you
Yeah,
notice though, like when you were getting into the in-group, out-group arguments, and he does this loads, he
right.
goes off on almost irrelevant tangents
Oh yeah.
about
Sure.
stuff,
Like a lot of
thinking
times I
like,
just
"Whoa,
haven't
how
got.
is this connected?"
Sometimes I just didn't really know what he was on about. I was just really confused.
No, I think that's what he does. He goes off on like irrelevant tangents about stuff that you think he's making a point, but it never really comes.
Can
Well,
I
that's my opinion.
actually with him? He says that vegans are in a cult. I've missed the part where he can get away with defining it as a cult. How does he define it as a cult?
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
How do you like?
Because it doesn't fit into a cult. Like the meaning of one, I just don't. I'm quite confused as to how he get away with that.
I have no
Has he
idea.
explained it?
Like, oh, someone else has a different, or like someone else has different ideas than me, so therefore they're part of a cult because a lot of people agree in that belief or that idea.
It's
And
because we take it more
veganism
seriously
really
than
is.
he does. Yeah.
I mean, veganism isn't a belief. I mean, I don't know exactly how AY uh, talked about it, but I think it was something along the lines of, if you believe in universal human rights and you believe in logical consistency, there is no way that we can deny animals' rights. Like, universal human rights, part of that is being able to extend the treatment that we would want for ourselves to an animal.
Hmm.
Not necessarily like certain things like the right to vote, or the right to do certain like behaviors within the system, within our society. However, just the right to life, the right to live and not have a knife shoved down their throat. So it's just, I don't totally,
You're asking too much.
Asking too much, yeah.
yeah, totally. And then in the name of liberty, saying like, oh, well, I believe in liberty. It's like, okay, well, you are imposing on another person's liberty by putting a knife in their throat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a simple argument, but I mean, I feel like
Oh, actually,
people just
he's in the chat
so
now.
scared of, oh, cool.
Yeah, he's actually come in the chat if anyone wants to question him.
Hi, FriendEd.
He said the axioms
Hello.
are the glue that bind communities / cults together.
Okay,
The
but
axiom.
how are we in a cult, FriendEd? I would like genuinely curious.
How are we binded by killing animals?
anyone-
That's what I want to know.
I would say, like, honestly speaking, anyone that is going to call those who just want to like take care of a community or take care of a people and say that that's a cult is just a fallacy. I mean, it's absurd just to think that if someone wants to take care of the well-being of others, that somehow that's labeled as a cult. You know, you're not infringing on any liberties. What you're doing is you're helping to reinforce the liberties of another sentient being. So, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. I just think that there's like a way in which the system needs to be structured to make it practical to get these animals and these other, you know, I mean, I don't think people should be owning like lions, you know, but I think that
Liam is being so brutally honest in the chat. Everyone's like, love you, FriendEd, and he's like, actually,
It's like, yeah, you know,
Wow.
I obviously disagree with, you know, the whole subject of veganism with FriendEd, but I don't know. He is a likable guy. Like, you know,
Yeah, totally. No,
I'd still go out and have a drink with him and stuff, but you know.
I don't know.
have a chat with him.
I feel like there's some dishonesty there, though. If you're going to dodge questions, if you're going to come into a group or, you know, with a certain set of beliefs and you're going to be like, this is a cult, oh, I don't really think about what's going on here. And you're going to, if you're going to lay it out, at least think from the other side, because you're clearly like, when someone asks a question, you're like, I don't really think about it too much. And then it's shaming when people lay out what actually happens. And you're like, oh, let's move on. I think I'd be happy to if there was more honesty. I think there's a bridge there that needs crossing, and I don't think it has been.
I can't make the connection because the cult has a religious connotation. It's like, it's literally like, it's like an authoritarian kind of religious, ritualistic kind of a thing. You know, it's like vegans. Sure, they have like a ritual of eating fucking plants, but like I don't see where the like extremism falls into place. Like, you could say it's extreme in that it contradicts like the beliefs that you've been conditioned to believe all your life, but you could even say the contrary to that. Like, that's, I mean, that is in a sense extreme, or, you know, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, but even that, it's like, how do you exactly?
He's in. His friend had come in again. Hey man, you back?
I missed probably like a minute because of the lag.
He's back for the shaming. The shaming.
I'm not going to take it. You guys are asking me so many questions though, and I'm not trying to be evasive or dishonest. I think there's a miscommunication going on, because I understand morality comes from the unconscious mind, and that we all have various settings for what we're going to accept and reject. And my settings are different than your settings, and we're just having like a miscommunication about that. So I mean,
so the first thing that we thought you evaded, right? Chris asked you, do you need to eat meat to survive, right? And you said that's none of your business. And I asked why that's none of his business.
Right. Well, it was getting heated and I was just trying to cool off. So I didn't want to say something that I would regret. So I just was like, that was just a tactic to
okay. So
to like cool things down. Yeah, totally. I wouldn't have come in if I wasn't cool. So
true. So can he ask again? And
yeah, just don't try to shame me. I mean, if we're having you are the cult thing, I think we worked out in the stream, because I understand morality as like Christian morality has a set of rules, right? And most moralities have the most important rule that if you break that rule, you're not going to be a part of that community anymore. And I would say vegans have the rule that killing and eating innocent animals is wrong, right? If you break that rule, you're no longer a part of the vegan community, correct? I'm not a part of the vegan community because I break that rule like every day, right?
Yeah, that's where it's a bit confusing though, because you mentioned Christianity, but you have churches,
Christianity has a
denominations and cults, and
right,
so
but there is a most important rule in Christianity. You have to accept that Jesus was a son of God and died for your sins. If you don't accept that, you're not a Christian. There are all these other rules that are tacked on, right? Turn the other cheek, and the different sects of Christianity will argue about the ancillary rules. But the one rule that binds that community together is Jesus was the son of God and he died for your sins. Like if you look at,
but I would say, right, with religion, with cults, the thing is, these invest a lot in faith. Veganism does not.
Well, you do a little bit because you're saying
a little bit, not entirely on faith.
Here, let me lay it out. You're making an argument that society would be better if we followed your axiom that killing and eating innocent animals is wrong. And I do not believe that axiom. And
That's not an axiom.
Can you explain why, Adam? Can you explain why that is exactly? Why do you think that it wouldn't be as good?
I have made the argument that the cultural losses would be too great for Team Human, and I know you guys don't like that.
Which cultural losses exactly? Can you kind of explain what they would be?
Can I come in on this?
Okay,
go ahead.
We're all over the place. Let's start with the axiom. So how exactly is this axiom? By the way, veganism is the axiom, and it has multiple components.
But do you disagree with me that the main axiom? I have it right?
Disagree. It's veganism is not the main axiom. There are more fundamental principles to that can conclude to veganism.
Right, ecology, ethics.
Veganism is not an axiom, and nor is the inherent moral value of animals. That's not an axiom. It's based off more fundamental principles. It's based off of
all those things. I think are covered by the axiom. But I mean, you're welcome to disagree.
You don't understand, I don't know, fundamentalism? Like, I'm not sure how you're not cluing into on this. There's principles that are more fundamental than what you're saying is the axiom. Do you not know what an axiom is? You don't have to start with that. You start at a more fundamental level and you conclude to it.
But it's still the most important thing.
Hello.
No, it's not. That's the thing.
Well, I think Mix wanted to say something. Do you want to get in and see what you're going to say, Mix?
Yeah, well,
reflecting on the whole axiom thing and how it correlates to what he's trying to say. I'm really just trying to understand.
I think the moment was where I wanted to join was a little bit past now, so we'll leave it for now.
Well, I just wanted to say when you said that FriendEd, the vegans are arguing that the world would be better if we were vegan. Am I phrasing you right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the thing is, because you're external to the vegan group, all right, that's kind of something we're trying to figure out. I think the first thing and foremost, we are saying that it is wrong to harm animals. Like, that's the first, like, there are levels to all of this. And
right.
Maybe it would be better, we're not sure.
That is the main axiom. It's wrong to kill and eat innocent animals, right?
Yeah.
Well, not even so much innocent, just
I wouldn't say that.
Innocent beings, I would say. I wouldn't just say it's animals.
Well, I'm counting humans or animals too. I'm counting.
Yeah.
So
what would you say, Michael?
So you I think probably add a sentient component to that too, because I think some vegans don't care if you eat oysters and stuff like that, right? So
I mean, I more care about the oyster thing because they are literally the hoovers of the ocean, and that's kind of, other than that, I'm aware they're not sentient, but they are vital to our ecosystem, so I'd rather we didn't farm them. But
yeah, but I would say that, like, I was actually on a friend's stream, FriendEd, and I would say that most lizards aren't either. They are pretty much robots.
Lizards?
Yeah, because my brother has lots of pet lizards,
I used to keep lizards, and they would know when they fed. They come to their names.
Yeah, but have you had a Chinese or Asian water dragon?
I used to have an iguana.
Yeah. Well, you can turn them on and off with a reset switch. That I can do that with my PC, mate. So you you can literally turn them on and off by putting your thumb over them and turning them upside down.
If we had the technology to turn humans on and off, then they would be robots under your definition. Then.
You can turn humans on and off.
The thing is, I don't see much more than a highly sophisticated computer. It's not much more than that.
If you put around our neck,
what I'm saying is where do you draw the line?
Can it experience?
You're going to make that sort of argument. Where do you draw the line?
That's
all I'm saying.
Experience suffering.
Yeah, but robot is a stupid argument. That's the point. Your iPhone has moral value under that logic. Humans are just really complex robots. It's sentient. iPhone isn't sentient. Plant isn't sentient. The lizard is most certainly sentient. You can get agnostic on topics like oysters and insects, but the lizard is most certainly sentient, and that's where
I don't know, man. You can turn it on and off, and it.
Just because
it's a hard sell for me.
I mean, just because it does something where you put a finger on it and it kind of freezes up doesn't mean that it's not sentient. It's probably the defense mechanism.
All I'm saying is that I'm from what I've seen these things in tanks for. There was pretty much on the other side of my room.
Yeah, me too.
24 hours, 24 hours a day when I was at, university, writing with dissertation. I was feeding them. They're not that.
No, this is the thing. This is the thing. You're talking to someone that. Hold on 2 seconds. But you're talking to someone that prior to being vegan and vegetarian used to probably have. Well, I used to do an animal care course, and I had more animals in my house, in my bedroom, than they had at the animal care room, because I used to collect turtles and bugs and all this kind of stuff. So I've dealt with them for years.
We've both been around these
exactly,
animals.
and I can tell you that they're not just robots. Like I said, we had lizards that would come to their name, all this kind of stuff.
When you say you can turn it on and off, are you saying you can kill it and resurrect it again?
You can reset it.
It's not reset.
Right, you can reset.
It's not a reset. It basically just
makes. Yes, it is a reset. It wakes up. It doesn't know where the fuck it is.
Hold on. What? So
it's basically it'll be the same as giving me around about 2 bottles of whiskey on a Friday night, and then I wonder what's happened.
You've already had 2 bottles of whiskey. We know. We know the truth.
I'm sorry. I just don't think. I don't think anything up to. They're just not that.
That's confusing though, because you just said that it would be like you having 2 bottles of whiskey, yet you're sentient and resetting. And
what I'm saying is forgotten everything that happened the night before.
I know, but can I just kind of get us back on topic? Because I mean, we could talk about resetting lizards for hours. It's a great subject, but I wanted to talk about going back to the cultural costs that Adam said. I want to know what those exact cultural costs were, because we didn't actually get an answer.
We don't know. We're guessing what the cultural costs are. We really are.
Yeah, you can't just guess and then assume. Then, surely you should be like, well, it's.
Well, you're the one. You are the one guessing, though.
No, because
you are the one guessing.
No, because we can say why it'll be better. We can say why the cultural costs will be better.
But you don't know the downside.
Yeah, but you can't name the downside either.
Yes, but I'm not advocating for making radical changes to society.
So, I mean, if I can't name the downside and you can't name the downside, but we can name the positives.
Well, I've named hunting and fishing, and I've named holidays and
How would holidays be affected?
Yeah. No more turkey for Thanksgiving. I mean, that's a pretty intricate part of the holiday.
There'd be a replacement for turkey.
Yeah, but you're talking about making replacements to holidays that people they made changes in Israel when they carved out Israel to give the Jews a country after the Holocaust. And you can make an argument that the Middle East has never been the same. They've had war there ever since.
No, but it's not.
So, I mean, you're talking about just like you're saying, oh, yeah, we can just make changes. But
it's not quite the same as just replacing one item on a Christmas meal.
You don't know, though. You don't know. And I'm just saying there's a faith component to you saying that you can just change it without any consequences.
Think about it, what would be the worst that would happen if we replaced turkey at Christmas dinner? The worst scenario. Do you think everyone's going to start killing each other?
It seems about an arbitrary changing the Christmas colors from green and red to pink and yellow. You know, it seems entirely arbitrary.
It's not. I mean,
most people don't even know why they eat turkey at Christmas. In fact, the only reason that they eat turkey is because it was just the cheapest bird that people could buy back in the day that could feed the family. That was literally the only reason. There's no real cultural significance to the turkey if you go back. It's just the real
reason. The real test of it would be to make it illegal to use to take pigs off the menu, to say it's illegal to slaughter pigs and see how that affects things.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you think would happen?
What do you think would happen if all of a sudden tomorrow it was illegal to slaughter pigs and there was no more bacon at the grocery store, no more? I mean, culturally, what would happen?
Everyone would moan for a bit because that's what everyone does, and everyone would
moan for a bit.
No, there would be
the next thing on the list.
There'll be a bacon black market. That's
okay,
I think
back alley bacon.
Because that's exactly what happens in Muslim countries. Because I know because I live with 5 Muslims, right? And they used to say, yeah, we used to get they used to be beer, haram things get imported into the country all the time.
Well,
and it's like anything else. There will be a black market for it. Okay, if you outlaw meat, there will be a black market for meat.
I agree with
exactly what will happen.
Okay. And the animals might get less care in the black market economy than they do now.
Exactly.
That's a pragmatic argument of what might happen if this happens, but we're talking about
what
right
happens
and wrong.
I mean, if you think about it, though, there'll be less pigs getting killed. You're not going to get the same amount of pigs.
The reason why
because they have to be put in smaller and smaller areas, and it'll be mostly indoors, and they're all
indoors anyway.
It's kind of like how they grow cannabis now. What's going to happen? They're going to try to hide it and stuff. Like this. Well, this happens in the UK, not necessarily I don't know about America and that, but they put it under and then they actually use slavery and lock the people in the cannabis houses now. So this isn't happening in the UK. So we actually have people as slaves.
So legalized
in this cannabis in the indoor cannabis farm. So that's actually made situations worse, hasn't it?
Do you honestly think that the black market for back alley sausages?
I think a black market would form. The same thing happened with abortion.
The black market
they made abortion
for everything in Islamic countries for
abortion,
women,
alcohol,
for whatever is not there. If you can afford to pay it, there's a black market for it.
But there's a difference between alcohol, which gives
been
people
a black market for drugs forever.
Oh, yeah, but think about it, okay? You can't compare bacon.
Hold on. There's a black market for raping children. Do you think raping children should be legal?
No,
not. What are you talking about?
Come on, man. It's not on the. It's not equivalent.
It's
not. Yeah, totally.
What I would say though,
I'm not having.
It's a perfect analogy. Come on.
What I am saying.
It's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect. No, listen. Let me speak. Right.
If you want to talk abortion, it's closer because a lot of people think abortion is immoral, but.
Let Meisen speak.
Right. Listen. You're using.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Black market as a justification to keep killing animals as legal, right? You're using this black market argument to keep that legal.
I'm not saying.
Now,
what I'm saying is.
Good.
What happens when you make child prostitution illegal is that a black market forms. Do you think that means that you shouldn't make child prostitution illegal? Don't be stupid, man. Come on. That's not an argument against something like that, making something illegal. Oh, a black market will form. Well, does that mean you should make it legal
black market, though, I guess.
It's a bullshit argument, man. Sorry to be a little bit rude, but that is really low hanging fruit.
Meat and abusing kids is, in my mind, not even on the same level. So
your mind, though.
as far as I'm concerned, that's
I don't think it's not comparison of actions. It's just comparison of situations and a black market. That's all it is. Just
well, there's a clear comparison.
Whether black market
causing suffering to innocent creatures. There's a clear comparison between that. Yeah. You're using force to cause suffering.
I don't see. Look, at the end of the day, right? I don't see.
It's there.
All right, black market though, and robots though. I'll add that to the list. Okay.
Yeah. What about the meta ethics though? Because we have meta ethics though on our side. Because Vegan Gains kept saying meta ethics though, meta ethics though.
The in-group thing, right?
Oh.
In-group. So can I kill you?
We've kind of done the
morality. Technically,
we've been down this road.
Technically, I'm not contradicting my morality by doing that. This guy's talking about like, oh, no innocent animals should be killed, or no animals should be killed.
What do you mean? Do you have the axiom?
Fundamental axiom is to maximize well-being. Yeah, I could justify killing you because it would maximize well-being on a grander scale. You kill about 200 animals a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or killing you on that basis.
I would.
Very nice.
I would say that your attorney would probably advise you that that's not a good defense strategy.
Yeah, sure. It wouldn't be legal. I don't care about
yeah, because it isn't legal. There we go.
I'm talking about morality. I'm not talking about.
Okay, can we just move on then? If we're saying black market though isn't a particularly
you guys are so fixated on the law.
Well, wait.
Black market
the law
is
not a reflection of society.
Well, guys, can we just move on then from black market? Because I think black market isn't an excuse. Can we say what other huge cultural impacts it would have? We're talking about we eliminate eating pigs.
Yeah, but
what else is? What other negatives are we going to get? Because we can take you some positives.
I just want to go back to.
Well, we can say some positives for
the argument I just got in mind.
Yeah, I'm here because I didn't want to be evasive, and I was getting called. People were saying I wasn't answering questions, and I'm trying to just be as honest as I can.
No, but I appreciate you coming on. That's cool.
Boys, the those list is looking so good. Ancestors though, bacon though, black market though, canines though, cigarettes though, chickens are like robots.
Do you know that's not helpful on your side, because what you're doing is you're compiling a list of 100 reasons why you shouldn't be vegan.
100 bad reasons.
Well, they're bad to you, but all the people that people don't need a good reason to justify doing something that they want to do.
They do.
They just need any old shitty reason. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well,
when you're stopping someone else from doing what they want to do, that's kind of important.
I could literally
justify asking you to go out and help.
Ethical action. Oh, I just want to Holocaust a bunch of a bunch of lower intelligence species. I want to rape your kid. Like, it's pretty fucked up, man.
Can I get a second because my phone's about to die? FriendEd, I have a question about morality.
Okay.
Can you give me a moral explanation why you think it would be wrong for me to suicide bomb? Because there's no social argument that you can give for the morality of why that's wrong that could convince me. That's a genuine question.
Yeah, can we get back to this point after this?
Why is it wrong for you to suicide bomb me?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems just patently evident to me. I mean, it's illegal. I think, if you ask.
I don't care about the law.
Why shouldn't you fly planes into buildings next?
Yeah. It's a genuine question.
Fuck's sake. Seriously?
No. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're dead, why would I care about the law? Why do I care about the consequences? Seriously. You're not giving any moral, logical reason consistently for why I shouldn't do that.
Well, first of all, I have given the justification that I don't think it's right. It's immoral to kill other human beings. It's immoral to kill innocent human beings. And you would be betraying that essential part of my morality, for one. So that's why I think it's wrong.
Well, you can't really draw this arbitrary line.
Yeah, you're just making
Well, yes, you can.
Well,
yeah,
I can. I can also give you an arbitrary reason why I should suicide bomb. Like you can't make arbitrary moral decisions.
Oh yeah, I suppose if you're like something like an Islamist, yes, you can draw this arbitrary line because then you'll say, oh well, they're the kafar or whatever, right? And that is exactly where you would go. You basically make them the other. Is what you're getting at, isn't it?
Well, no, it's just like.
Oh no. Basically, you're saying we make the animal the other, right?
No,
and this is what Islamists do to people who aren't Islamists: is make them the other. That's why they call them the kafar.
We don't make them the other. They are the other. We don't make them us.
That's what that. Yes, exactly. They are the other, but you're saying that vegans say that that we make them the other. That's a fundamental problem with all these arguments. Is, in my opinion, is that we think, like I'm a meatard. I think that animals are fundamentally different than people, right? To a certain extent, right? Islamists think non-Islamic people are fundamentally different, and it's okay to kill them, in certain circumstances because they are the other. So,
You're getting really choppy.
Sounds okay this end, I think.
I'm sorry, the last thing I understood you saying was people and animals are fundamentally different, and then you became a computer.
Oh, sorry about that.
I think it might be your connection because he sounded fine to me. Hey, what's up, Aaron? Is that Aaron? I don't have the thing up.
Yeah, Aaron.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Hi. All right, let me jump out and jump back in then.
That's what I think the argument comes down to.
FriendEd, people want me to push you on getting an answer for is meat.
You're gonna shame me again. God damn it! Yeah, I'm still black and blue from the last.
You know how I roll.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, everyone wants me to push you on the "Do you need meat for survival?" question because you still haven't answered it.
But okay, first of all, I agree with you. You do not need meat for survival.
Okay. So does that mean killing animals is needless?
The taste, pleasure, when you say needless, we don't need Christmas either. Like
I'm cool to obliterate Christmas.
We also don't need beds. Like we can sleep on the floor, right? We don't need houses.
Yeah, but
we can sleep in the woods.
Christmas and beds aren't killing anything.
Yeah, that's kind of. It doesn't add up, like logically speaking.
To you, it doesn't add up, but to us, it adds up perfectly fine.
You can't compare, even if you say beds to killing an animal.
That's not that.
Why not?
That's like just saying. I like yellow.
You're adding an axiom right here that you're saying I can't compare beds to killing animals, but there's no. I can. I am, and I do.
A non-arbitrary reason why you shouldn't sleep on beds or get rid of Christmas or wear yellow shorts.
What is the value of Christmas?
The fact that there's not a reason not to. That's the point. There's a reason not to murder humans. There are reasons for that. That's the point.
What is the value of Christmas?
Really? What if the human is a psycho killer, child rapist, murderer who says he can't help himself?
Then we would be non-arbitrary reasons to end that human's life. That's the point.
We would eject him and.
I don't know. I think sometimes you've got to call the herd. I think sometimes there are weak links and they should be eliminated. There's no other way to deal with them.
You wouldn't do that on an arbitrary basis.
Okay.
Arbitrary.
Okay.
Psycho killer, child rapist, murderer is not arbitrary to me.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that if there was a good reason for that, it wouldn't be arbitrary, and then it would be justified. That's the distinction.
Could I bring up another thing as well? Adam, you said in the stream that killing animals was amoral, but yet you expressed that you were against factory farming, which meant that you clearly have some form of care towards the animals in factory farms. Can you explain that?
I mean, I think as humans, we all want, and myself included, want to see the least amount of suffering for the animals that we eat. I think that's a solid position that 99% of the population agrees on.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, when you hunt an animal, you want to kill it as quickly and as painlessly as possible. Otherwise, you taint the meat. It doesn't taste the same.
So there's a
the animal
utility
suffers.
reason. There's a utility reason and a moral reason.
Okay, so
that could be arbitrary. Apparently, in China, they torture the dogs because apparently it makes them taste better.
Well, that might be like total bullshit.
No, that ain't. That's actually what happened.
Well, that would be arbitrary, regardless in terms of the taste pleasure when you're talking about the morality of it.
Well, there's just like how there's people here that torture dogs that don't eat them. They just torture dogs. And look at dog fighting.
They're dickhead. They're not very nice people. Then, you know, we've got terms to these people. They're fucking psychopaths, right?
Yeah. In China, they use rhino horn to get a boner. I don't think it works, but they do it.
Can I just say though? So we're talking about the fact people torture dogs because it tastes better, but we're mutilating pigs. Because we like the taste of them. We're cutting off their balls.
Yeah,
we're
but
chipping their tails.
Would you shame a pig farmer who is not a corporate commercial farmer who's just he's got his own pigs that he raises and he slaughters?
I'll tell him it's wrong. Yeah, totally, 100%. By the way, I wouldn't shame him because I don't believe in kind of shaming them because they're brought up to do that. But I think what he's doing is wrong. Totally, I would say it's wrong.
They're his animals. He's raising them himself. He's taking care of them.
They're not his animals. The animals are their own beings.
He pays for them.
I don't care if he pays for them.
He takes care of them. And to be quite honest,
they're living beings. I don't care what the law says. They're living beings.
More people die from pigs. More people die from pigs than from sharks.
I don't care.
Pigs
you don't own.
Erin, can I ask? So when it was legal to own a person, if someone bought a person, would you actually argue that person was truly theirs?
If somebody bought a person and they treated the person fairly, or if they treated the person like garbage?
It doesn't matter. Say they treated them really nicely. Would you say that they owned them?
Because there's people that bought people and pretty much freed them. They bought them to free them. So it kind of does matter how they treat them after.
If someone bought me and treated me like Donald Trump, then maybe, if someone treated me like I was wealthy, maybe I'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean, when they bought you, treated you like a queen. What? That's wrong that they bought you, but then they treat you like you're a queen?
What if they treated you like a queen and then bonked you in the head?
Well, they bought you to free you because the people that had you were selling you. I mean, you were enslaved by somebody else. It's not like...
Does it matter how well you're treated? If you were bought to then be killed.
No, that's not necessarily true. I mean, a farmer who raises animals doesn't kill all his animals.
Which animals doesn't he kill, out of interest? Because majority of them die.
Not by him. He sells a lot of them, but the ones that he kills, I mean, most animals that are eaten are killed within like the first year to 2 years of life.
It doesn't matter.
But there are animals that are kept for breeding.
If he sells,
there are animals that are kept.
If he sells them off to be killed, they're still going to be killed. They're still being brought into this life for either his profit or or to die. Well, he's been profiting from their deaths because that's where people.
What's on your feet?
Wait. Okay, what's on your? Huh? Wait, I'm sorry.
What is on your feet? What kind of shoes do you own?
What kind of?
What are your shoes made out of? Are all your shoes made out of canvas and rubber only?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
every single pair you own.
Yeah, you can buy vegan shoes.
What are you talking about?
You can buy vegan shoes.
I could show you a picture of them on my shoe rack if you'd like.
They're vegan.
I'll get the webcam.
They don't wear shoes.
Yeah, we wear them.
So you guys have no problem cutting down trees.
Guys, the conversation's skipping all over the place. Of course, we don't have a problem cutting down trees because they don't have a sentient.
You have no problem with deforestation then.
Well, I
have a question.
Hold on.
And that's why I'm vegan.
Guys, hold on. If you're going to talk about deforestation, can we just mention that 95% of Amazon deforestation is due to cattle and the food that we're feeding cattle?
Yeah.
So if you want to talk deforestation and saving trees, don't eat cows.
That's why we're vegan.
A good chunk of it actually is due to the fact that they're raising crops like soy.
No, the soy's being fed to cows.
Wow.
The soy's also being fed to vegans.
No, the soy's being fed to cows. The actual amount of soy we actually eat is a very, very small percentage compared to how much soy is fed to cows.
Yes, all the vegans eat just a tiny micro percentage of soy.
Yeah.
Okay. You eat more through eating a cow.
And all those soy products you use in place of the animal products.
Still, no matter how much a cow can consume and how many are slaughtered.
Think of the fact that like 20% of that soy, think of how much soy we use in products. We have soy lecithin. We have byproducts of soy. We have tofu. We have all these different things. Think about how much is in, like, how much soy is in product. I mean, check out some of the highly processed foods out there. You know, it's fucking crazy.
It's all your clothing. Is it all made in America? Does it all have a made in America or made in England tag on it? Or does it have a made in Taiwan, made in China? I mean, I want to know how moral you guys are, because
is this
I'm
appeal to
finding it hard to
futility
believe
that we
that you
can't be
guys are standing
perfect
on
so
this high
therefore we're
horse
wrong?
because you don't eat animals.
It's not, do what we can, really.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, if your sweater says made in Bangladesh and it was like some 4-year-old kid that made it for like 2 cents for the week, you're okay with that because you didn't eat animals?
Yeah, but it's appeal to futility, and no, we're not cool with that.
Oh,
and most of us
up. I hear that all the time.
And most of us will actively try and avoid that where possible. Yeah.
Can I just ask, when someone does something good, say someone goes up to someone, just does it a nice act, are you the person who goes up to them and goes, how dare you do something nice?
No, but if the person does something good afterwards, comes up to me and is like, I did it and you didn't, how dare you? Well, then, yeah, I might say, well, hey, yesterday, you ran over my neighbor's cat.
Okay, can I ask, who said?
So this is like
vegans always shame meat eaters.
This is like the argument from defensiveness. Hold on. You're emotionally sort of resistant to this. You're sort of reactive over this. Is your argument from offense?
I was listening to the live stream and I heard the shaming happening. And then the denial of the shaming.
The thing is, all I did is state the facts. If people feel guilty about the facts, and think about why you feel guilty about the facts.
Well, you know what the facts are? All animals are opportunistic carnivores. That's a fact.
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
The rhinos.
I can show you videos. I can show you videos of a cow eating baby chicks. I can show you videos of deer stripping another deer's carcass. I can show you videos of squirrels eating rattlesnakes. I can show you videos of fucking rabbits eating birds.
Right. Okay.
All animals are opportunistic carnivores. You want to know why they're opportunistic carnivores? Because you have more protein in meat. All life knows that. Even plants eat meat. Even fucking plants eat meat.
Okay, are you in a situation where you need to skin an animal alive and eat them?
I catch and kill if I can. I'll go fishing, and if I can catch and kill it, I will put it in a pan, and I will gladly fry it up.
But that's because you can and not because you need to. You are not in a situation. I assume
I live in a city, so farming is not like really an option here. And yeah, I'm not going to go out and spend
purchasing products
twice as much. When I could go to my local farmer just outside the city and get meat a lot cheaper.
But you can still purchase plant foods. You do not need.
I can raise eggs. I can raise chickens, and then the eggs are free.
You
what am I a bad person for eating the eggs?
But you can. You don't need to. You're saying I can do this.
Yeah,
but there's no guilt. There's no guilt in it. There's no guilt in that. I mean, vegans have abortions. You don't have to have the abortion, but they do anyways.
Going from point to point every time.
And life is life. I mean, if you guys are going to put this huge life on animals,
animals are so important. Point to point, just throwing out ridiculous amounts of stupid. Can you just slow down a little bit? And we'll take this. Listen, man. You're gish galloping. You're gish galloping.
You've gone from shoes to abortion in about 30 seconds.
No, listen.
You make it like animals are the end all be all.
Listen, stop.
Language to try and catch something, you're not.
You're gish galloping. You're throwing out so many fallacious arguments that it's impossible.
They're not fallacious. These are facts.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are factually fallacious.
Vegans don't have abortions.
I'm going to moderate now.
Vegans have abortions. What is that? A categorical distinction? Are you saying all vegans have abortions?
No, I didn't say all. I said vegans have abortions. Right? I just don't like when vegans try to use this moral high horse like we're superior because you're eating animals that have been tortured. How do you know my animals have been tortured? Why would you presume that in the first place?
Well, they're dead. That's a big factor. Like
they're dead. That doesn't mean they were tortured. Doesn't mean they were tortured. Doesn't mean that they lived a shitty life.
No, just had a knife in the neck,
Can I ask, Erin, say for example tomorrow someone just wanted to kill you. They did it in a nice way. Would you say that that's appropriate?
If somebody wants to kill me.
If someone killed you tomorrow, Doesn't matter if they did it nicely.
Oh, they
would
could
you
try
believe that to be
to.
appropriate?
No, it's not what they try to. Would
They
you?
could
Would you
try
accept?
to.
Would you accept
Yeah,
it
but if they
someone
did it, would you accept it?
Would I accept if they tried to kill me?
Yeah, you've had a good life.
Yeah.
Well,
You
they
did it
didn't
nicely.
do it. They tried and they failed because there's no guarantee that they're going to kill
No,
me.
doesn't-
I am
doesn't
not
matter
an
if I-
animal.
doesn't-
I'm a human being. You do understand there's a difference, right?
Name
Yeah,
it.
but
Name the
what's
difference.
the difference that means that
Name the
one's
difference?
okay and the other's
Yeah,
not?
name the actual difference between humans and animals.
Are you living in a house or are you living in a nest?
No. Name the
You're
difference.
missing the
Don't
question.
go off on one.
Yeah. Are you in a city that animals built or that people built?
Name a
Did you
difference.
go to a school
Name
that
the
the
difference.
animals?
She did, Chris. To be fair,
Wait, what was the difference? Do you
she-
live in a
Listen,
town?
she did there.
We built civilization.
No, wait.
What
Eric,
civilization?
Not animals, us. We did it.
Is the difference
Eric.
civilization? Is that the difference?
You're missing-
Civilization.
It's a different
Well,
civilization.
yes, in some ways, yes.
Okay, so if humans don't have
Civilization is a lot
civilization, they're okay to be killed. No,
And-
you would reject that. Next.
Are you going to go tell the lion to stop killing the gazelle? Are you going to go tell?
No, because a lion
like I
lacks
said-
moral agency and has no other option. You
Exactly.
have
They are not
supermarkets.
us. They are not us. We are humans. So there's a difference there, and you are equating them to us. That's when
Yeah,
you're like,
well,
their
yeah.
life is so valuable. It's just as valuable as a person.
So you're saying if they don't have moral agency, that they're now okay to kill? Okay, so if a human didn't have moral
You
agency,
do
would
realize
it be
that,
okay to
like,
kill
when a
them?
pig
No,
gives birth,
no.
it gives
Next.
birth to like 10 piglets, right? When a human gives birth, it gives birth to one baby.
Right,
and
okay.
piglets quickly get off the ground the moment they're born, and they're able to suffice. They can walk around
Yep.
and run, and human babies can't.
Right, yeah,
It takes us 3 years before we can just toddle,
okay.
let alone be of sufficient on our own.
So what does this
There's a big
justify
difference
eating
between
animals?
a human and an animal.
Yeah, but that what? So the difference between the human and animal is that animals will have more than one.
Me.
So if humans
I
had
mean,
10
there's
A
babies,
lot than that. There's I just named several differences.
yeah, but they're all rubbish. So if humans
But
had
They're
10
How
not
do they
rubbish.
make
They're only
it
rubbish
okay?
to you because you want to keep waving your finger as if you're some moral
Okay.
superior person. Your choice to not
Wait.
eat animals.
Wait, so your differences has been civilization. So if humans didn't have civilization, it would be okay to kill them? No. Your other one was animals have more babies. So if humans had
Humans
more
have had
babies...
civilizations since the dawn of time. I mean, there hasn't been a point where we haven't.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to say what cave people, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that because our civilization goes back as far as written history,
But it
and
doesn't
we don't
matter.
know before that. That's why
All
All I'm saying is that if they didn't have civilization...
We're now in an industrialized civilization, and we aren't barbaric like we used to. So I don't understand how you're
Some of us.
like. Okay, sure, we did certain actions back when. It didn't make those actions morally justifiable just because we did them in the past. Do you think that because we've done an action in the past throughout history that it
So
makes
a
it
person that raises their own food, they raise all their own food. You would give them grief because they raise animals for their own consumption.
You should let him finish. You're cutting him off.
That they were wrong.
Nicholas.
Pardon?
Nicholas was making a point. She cut you off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Maybe he was done.
Nicholas, were you saying something?
Hello, can anybody hear me? By the way, just
Yeah,
someone-
we can hear you. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I didn't want to be a dick. I
No,
just
it's cool, man. It's all
whether
good.
it's my equipment or the stream or whatever.
No, it's
Sorry.
it's good to make sure you're working, then we can crack on. So yeah, Nicholas, did you want to make a point there?
Yeah, no, just because we've done something in the past doesn't make it morally justifiable. And what I wanted to really hammer you on is if somebody wants to kill you, is it appropriate? Like the main point. If they tried to, would you
Am
accept
I a dog?
okay with it? Would you let them kill you?
It depends.
Am I a dog?
It depends on the reason, though. There have been people who have killed other people because they've killed family members, and juries haven't convicted them, even though they obviously committed murder. Because as human beings, like, we understand there's a revenge component. Like, context is everything.
Yeah, context is everything. Like if my friend sacrificed their life for me, like said, hey, I realize that, this helicopter can come and save us in 30 days. And the only way that one of us is going to survive is if one of us like offers our body to the other person. I could say that would be justifiable. Like, if
You
both
should
people,
both cut a limb off. You guys could live off that limb.
sure. I mean,
You wouldn't
I'm
live long after you cut off the limb.
Well, you get a good tourniquet going.
Just to be independent there. Okay. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I mean that's really just the main point. I don't know, like you seem to jump and I think we could all just be a lot calmer if we just hit each point and like focus on that point until it's hammered out.
Got 9 people in here, mate. That's not gonna happen.
I want to go back to the point I made. Like,
it was never going to end well, was it? Let's be fair.
How many vegans are? How many of y'all are vegans?
All but you and FriendEd, and actually Mix. I really actually know you. I'm guessing you're not.
Yeah, that might just call me Luke, mate.
Oh, sorry,
Just
Luke.
call me Luke.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I only use that because I don't want everybody looking up like my name
No, that's
and
fair
knowing where I live.
No, that's cool. Yeah, are you actually? I'm guessing you're not vegan.
Have you had people do that? Have you had people actually look up where you live?
If you put my name in Google, you'll find out exactly where my name is straight away.
But I mean, have you had people actually do that?
Yes.
Do you
guys, back on topic. Like, seriously, back on topic. This is totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the argument I made ages ago that my own team evaded away from. Right, about the in-group stuff. You're not in my in-group. You're not in my in-group. My ethics don't necessarily preclude me from killing you to maximize well-being, right? But if you're using in-group and out-group as a justification to be able to kill someone that's not in your in-group, right? Then how am I not justified in killing you?
That's a pretty lame reason to kill somebody. You're not part of my group, so I can kill you.
Because we're in the in group.
Yeah, that's his argument, though, lady. That's his argument. In here, so
my argument is all humans are in the in group.
I don't think we should go around the in group argument because I think we kind of sussed that one out earlier.
And you're saying that humans are in your in group and animals are not in your in group is your justification for being allowed to kill animals. Well, you're not in my. I said that in my stream. I'm a vegan. You're not in my in group because you're not vegan, right?
Right.
So you're not in my moral in group. So
I realize that.
In group, out group.
Just out of curiosity.
Hold on. If you're using in group and out group as your sole justification for being allowed to kill these animals, you're not in my in group, and
I don't
it
think he
doesn't
said
go
it was
against
a
my
sole
moral.
justification.
Listen, man, we've already talked about it, right? And my morals don't preclude me from killing you. Okay, so why shouldn't I kill you?
Well,
how is that a good way to base your ethics? To say anyone that's out of my in group,
I think it's a terrible way to base your ethics.
So we're making progress then.
Adam, did you say that was your sole reason for killing animals was because they're not human?
Well, he's pitching ISIS morality again, and I don't agree with ISIS morality. It's a terrible.
To be quite honest, vegans. Let's say you're in. I have a question to pose to you. Let's say that you're out in the wild and a fucking animal is ready to kill you. Are you just going to lay down your life because you can't kill that animal?
Self-defense.
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, self-defense. So you killed the animal. Now what are you going to do with it? Just walk away from it because and let it die for nothing?
So the self-defense
argument was attacking you. What are you on about?
The self-defense argument is interesting because I would use the same self-defense argument if vegan was going to kill me. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Oh, Owen. I think
vegan DNA. I like your avatar though. That's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go around the in-group argument because I think in the beginning of the stream we did kind of.
Chris has figured it out. Chris knows the magic.
I know the magic. I still think it's rubbish, but I know the magic.
It's 3/4 razzle dazzle. Yeah. Once you see the razzle dazzle, it's
basically
it's like you know the trick, right?
Yeah, let me just clear it up for everyone. I mean, whether this is proper logic, I can't say. Like I said, I'm not the logic master at all. But basically, what it is, you'd have to put FriendEd outside of his own in group and then try and kill him in some context. Basically, that's where you got to work from.
Not in our in group, FriendEd.
He said his in group
is all humans.
So what are you gonna do? Dress him up as an animal?
Yeah, my in group is all humans though, so I've already got around that.
Well, so what are you gonna do? Dress him up as an animal?
No. What I said is, what about if we transported your consciousness into something?
He did get around it, didn't he?
What I was going to say is, what about if we transported your consciousness into something that wasn't within the human species? Yeah, but
let's stay in reality.
No. This is called hypotheticals. This is how argumentation works. Right.
Yeah, well, can we keep our hypotheticals in reality, based
No.
in reality?
No. I'm sorry. This is argumentation 101. Hypotheticals count. Look it up. Okay, so basically, if we transported your consciousness into something that wasn't within the human species, but you still had a lot of the same traits as a human, and would it be okay to kill you being outside of the outgroup, of your own outgroup?
Well, I would say this wasn't a question for me. I'm sorry, but I would say I'll be totally against like killing gorillas and chimpanzees. I'll be totally. They're so similar to us. We should be, killing them.
Dolphins,
I don't think we
cephalopods.
should be putting them in cages either. And that's what I think about that.
Daddy, hop on the live stream and just mutilate this conversation.
I have a hypothetical I want to ask you guys morally, because I think it kind of fits up with the vegan argument.
Okay.
So let's say hypothetically someone is going to offer you $1 billion. You'll never have to work a day in your life. You can live in the lap of luxury. You can do whatever you want to do. But at 45, they're going to kill you. Do you take that offer, or do you, live to be 70 years old? Who knows what you're let's say you're middle class. It's not like you're destitute, but
I don't know.
That's a tough one, huh?
Interesting one. It is an interesting one.
Because that is kind of what animals have in my eyes.
They don't have that choice. They don't make the choice, though, do they?
Yeah,
that's a good point. That is a good point. We're making the choice for them, but someone could easily say, someone could make this choice for you, and like, which one is better? I'm asking you.
Which one?
Well, an alien civilization wants to just destroy us in 2020. So, like,
Nicholas, are you taking the $1 billion? What are you going to do?
Yeah, it is a good question.
It's a tough one, huh? You could have a lot of kids. You could have a lot of kids by the time you're 45, and you could leave them. Oh, let's make it more interesting. You can leave them your whatever inheritance you have.
Adam,
like whatever's left over, you can
army?
leave it to them.
Can I just buy a small army after I took the $1 billion and then spend myself after getting killed?
No.
Why not?
You can't go Eric Prince here.
I'll just buy compound doing a Osama bin Laden.
You're like ready.
Can I answer the $1 billion question?
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
Who you got?
Wait, real quick. I just want to address that thing that you brought up about killing them at 45 years old. To make that a fair comparison, you'd have to call a human at 8 years old. Because with pigs, for example, we kill them at like about 6 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, but I already said those pigs are born and they're instantly running and going. Humans take years to get up and run and go.
I'll just keep talking until you're done talking so I can finish my point. Their ability to walk or do anything at the beginning of their life has no merit on the length of their life. The length of their life
really does. That's why their life is shorter.
By about 1/20th of what it would ordinarily be. So to make this a fair comparison, you'd have to cut the life short of a human by about 1/10. So that would be 8 years old. Not 45 years old, 8 years old. That is
Basic
all. Have a nice day.
Basic math.
I'm dropped.
Who did that?
No, he did it himself.
Didn't kick him out.
No, he did it himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was kind of his Tim mic drop, I think.
Yeah, it was a mic drop. Yep. I mean, basic math.
So
101.
let's just hold on. Can we
really
get?
dark question though.
I want to know the answer to that question, because is it 10% of, like, they're killed at 10? Like the cow can live to be how old normally in the wild?
25, maybe.
25,
something
and
like
and
that.
how old?
That's bollocks.
And how old are they?
Horses live over 35. I think cows live about the same as horses.
Maybe.
Yeah, they get up to that, but it's typically around 25, 20 at the minimum.
But there's also, because I see a lot. I watch the Nature Channel sometimes, and I see, like, the lions don't seem like they're taking down. I mean, sometimes they get got earlier. Like, they're not
typically
all
they go for the youngest
age,
and the
right?
weakest and the lamest, right? That's what they go for. They
Yeah,
specifically
totally.
seek. Yeah, but the thing is though, I mean, are we going to go by naturalistic fallacious arguments? Is that how we're going to do this?
Yeah. Well, we're talking about you're getting $1 billion.
Yeah, what's
and
fallacious
being
about
killed
it?
at 45. I don't know.
And then he changed it to 8. So how is it fallacious?
I mean,
if we change it to
okay,
8,
so it's just
no.
like okay, well, rape is natural. So how about I only rape you once in your life instead of getting raped?
Man, why do you guys always talk about rape?
Well,
It's
it's the clear
rape is not natural. Who says this? Who says this?
Are you retarded?
There's plenty of fucking courting procedures in the natural world,
Are you
mate.
that uninformed? Apes, all sorts of animals.
No. There's loads of courting procedures in the natural world. They're all documented. You're a fucking idiot if you think that.
Dipshit. Ducks have
no, fuck you.
Guys, chill.
They do it for more rape.
Ducks have
one
a
species
specific
that you
penis
say,
for rape.
Guys, chill, or you're getting muted.
Guys,
total
stop.
bullshit.
Right.
Okay, keep talking at the time.
Can we get an answer to the percentage?
Okay, yeah, FriendEd, do you want to ask that question again? And we can.
Tim answered that. I mean, that's the whole point of the mic drop. It was pretty mathematically clear that's what he was doing. It was like,
okay,
I want to check his math. Excuse me for wanting to check.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So if we go over some of the animals, then, so for example, chickens, they can live for up to 15 years. They're killed at about 8 weeks. Pigs can live 6.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, pigs can live 6 to 10 years, cold around 6 to 8 months. And then
really, so they don't even let them last a year then.
No. They got very, very short.
They just get them fat and big. That's all they need.
Yeah.
And what's the cows?
Cows. It depends if they're a beef cow or a dairy. I think dairy cows live the longest. I think maybe up to 8.
Veal's killed up to 18 months.
Yeah, veal.
So if it's not veal, if it's beef, it's older than 18 months and go up to I think 3 to 5 years.
My $1 billion question is a hypothetical, just to make it interesting. Obviously, you wouldn't take the deal if you were dying before you even got to reproduce. No.
So.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with the $1 billion question, it also doesn't really map out very well to the current times, because we might get to the point where we're so productive that becomes kind of a stupid question within the near future anyways. So if within 15 years we have automation that's already getting to the point where everyone can reasonably live within that kind of lifestyle, where you're saying you don't have to work and you can pretty much get all the material desires that you would ever want. And I mean, you have everything's just made out of atoms. So if we're getting that to point to, we're pretty close to that. We're already getting self-driving cars where, apes are much less safe to drive, these giant metal death traps at these high speeds that we didn't evolve to manage. Right. So we're already getting to the point where humans are becoming less useful in the job market. We're almost at a tipping point. That's a bad question right now, but I think historically, it's also kind of a bad question because $1 billion, I mean, wouldn't get you the amount of freedom and control and influence that it would today too, as well. So it's kind of within our context. It almost assumes things are going to stay as they currently are for the next 30 years or however much you have left to live.
I still want to know if you'd take the deal.
You just want to know just for fun, don't you? Really?
I mean, it's an interesting question.
Okay.
Well, personally, no, because we that's not even half our life, considering that we're going to live.
Well, to be fair, okay. If
I was going to start at 45 and go down to like 25,
Okay. Yeah, I'll answer the question, Adam.
If I had $1 billion, I'd be dead at 45 if it was 25.
Yeah. If you gave me $1 billion, I'd die at 45, and I'd put the whole $1 billion into shutting down the meat and dairy industry.
Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. Good answer. I approve.
$1 billion, surprisingly, not that much.
Coke and hookers, but that's a different thing.
$1 billion is $1 million. Oh no, wait.
No, it's not.
It's 1,000 million.
You guys see animals.
It's a gazillion dollars.
If you were going to give me $1 million billion, yeah, I'd probably take it.
No, it's 1,000.
You guys see. Sorry, you guys see
1,000
animals as these
million is
high
pretty
beings.
sweet.
Hold on, what was Aaron saying? Hold on, what did you say, Aaron?
I was saying, you guys
let's
see
hear it.
animals as these high beings, but why don't you guys
No, we
see
don't.
plants as high beings?
Because they're not sentient.
Why
They're
don't you
not
guys put,
sentient.
but they are.
What do you mean
Plants
by
are
high
sentient.
beings?
Provide
There
the
are
study.
plenty,
Plants
there are plenty
are
of,
Hold up,
not
hold up,
there are
hold up.
plenty of studies.
Hold up.
They are. There's
Hold up,
plenty of
everyone.
studies that show how plants react to being
No, hold
cut,
up,
how plants react to being
I've got this.
attacked. You know that smell you smell when you
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
the grass?
Yep.
That's them releasing a warning signal to the rest of the plant, to the rest of
Okay,
grass,
hold
saying,
on,
"Oh my
hold
God,
up,
we're
hold
in
up.
danger."
We've
Hold
heard
up.
this argument
Hold up.
1,000 times.
Hold
Trust
up.
me, this is
No,
stupid
there
as shit. We
are
can
plants
explain.
that actually parasite off other plants.
Oh
There
god.
are
Hold up.
plants that eat meat.
Let me
There are
mute
plants
you.
that they sense.
Let us
They
respond.
sense danger.
Let's respond.
iPhone.
Let
Yeah,
me
we've heard this
Let,
argument
let
1,000
Chris
times.
respond.
No,
Let
No,
Chris
but that
respond.
shows them
Let-
being sentient.
Okay,
Let,
first
let
off,
Chris respond.
First off, you need to provide the study. Second, you can go on Wikipedia and look under plant perception, which lists all the things you're saying plants do. It's under the paranormal category. All the other things you're actually suggesting that plants do are signs of intelligence, not sentience. My iPhone can do a lot of these things. It can react to sound. It can react to light. It can do all these things. All this art is reacting to external stimuli. Does not mean they have a subjective experience of the world or are sentient in any way. So unless you want to provide actual scientific evidence of plant sentience, which doesn't exist, then you have to concede to the fact that plants are not sentient. End of
It doesn't
conversation.
matter anyway because
Onions
animals
make you
exist
cry.
without plants. Plants take sun energy. They take the photons from the sun, convert that into carbon-based light. They're the only organisms that do this. So we need plants to exist. Animals would not exist if not for plants. So even if plants were sentient, we'd still have no choice. Regarding eating other animals, we do have a choice.
Can I also mention that if you really, really, really want to
Why
say...
does he keep leaving?
Oh, yeah. He loves that. If you're really, really interested in plant advocacy as well, you might want to realize that the animals you eat are eating more plants than we're eating directly. So by going vegan, you actually save plants as well. So I think
How do you figure? If the animals eat more plants, I eat the animal, I'm saving the plants.
How?
Are you
Aaron,
retarded?
do you think-
Do you not
Aaron,
understand?
Aaron.
That's not a solid argument.
The fact that an onion makes you cry means that the onion has emotions and a subjective experience
No,
of the
that's
world.
the
And-
onion's
think she's saying
defense.
that.
That is the onion's defense. Your iPhone doesn't have that defense. If I fucking shoot a hammer to your
Yeah, it does.
iPhone,
It's
it's
got-
not going to make me
Because
cry.
it
My
wasn't
iPhone's
built
got
for
defense.
that.
It's
It
got a
wasn't-
lock on it. I have to put a number in.
Yeah,
and I
and my
got-
hammer destroys your lock. And then it
No, it just
doesn't
breaks
do
the phone.
anything
You
to
would
me.
never get my
after-
My hammer
But it
breaks
doesn't
the
do
onion
anything to
too.
me. If I do that to the onion releases things that make me cry
Okay,
to try to stop hurting it.
Aaron, provide the study or stop.
Oh,
Vegans
I
hate.
could give you documentary upon documentary showing
Please
animal
do.
intelligence, but you don't
Please
think
do.
intelligence is the same as sentience.
Chuck them all my way. Actually, no, you guys carry on. I've got a little something I'm going to get up for everyone. You
All
guys
right,
carry
Erin,
on.
I just want to ask, right, when plants, there is no need for them to be sentient because they cannot move from danger. They cannot,
Yes,
they cannot
some
move
plants
anywhere.
do.
No.
Some plants do.
Listen, right?
I don't think you know
She's-
every plant that's in existence.
She's right in the sense that they can't move and respond to stimulus, but they do move like towards sunlight. They grow towards sunlight. But what she's talking about is
Solar
like
panels do
information
as well.
processing, not sentience. Exactly. Right. We can make technology that does that, but has no perception. Plants don't have perception. That's the difference. They don't have sentience.
Technology doesn't have
Yeah, well,
nerves.
we can
Plants
make
do.
Oh, you get on mine.
that we can
Is a calculator sentient?
well.
Is a calculator sentient? It's
Uh,
basically the same
It doesn't
thing.
have a nervous
as-
system.
as
It
far
doesn't
as
have
it's
cells.
listed, yeah.
That's like we can make a sentient computer. That's not an argument
go.
for sentience versus. Oh, you want to provide evidence for that because
It's
most
not
people
going to
that are
have
most
a
people-
nervous system.
What
It's not going to have
is,
the
Is that
same type
is
of
that
cellular
documentary peer reviewed?
defense that we're going to have.
well, I'm
Yeah.
actually a programmer.
Yeah, this is all done
I know a
by
little bit about this.
these are all done by botanists, scientists.
Yeah.
People
enjoy
that have-
screenshot, everyone. Enjoy the screen share.
So bad.
Plant perception.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at the picture, the black and white image from the 1800s.
Oh,
Good job there, guy.
Debunked by the black and white picture. Read the text.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
Black and white
Good job.
pictures, though. Add that one to the list.
Yeah, these documentaries are from like the last
Good job,
5
though.
years.
Good job, though.
I
I
don't
mean, yeah, I
need.
know because we don't ever change. I mean, what we learned back. Hey, that's it. You know, nothing ever changes.
Hold on.
We know what we know, and that's
I
it.
got more.
Vegans,
Listen, I
Aaron,
can give
vegans
you
hate
1,000 of these.
I got more. Trust me.
Vegans hate plants. You can't get around it.
I hate them with a passion.
I want to interject something.
I think they hate people, to be quite honest.
No.
Yeah, that's exactly.
No.
We love people.
You're breaking up a little bit.
We put humans above the other animals. It's just that there's not a difference between them that we would not.
There is
a non-arbitrary difference. Hey, you. This guy is not very bright. I'm not sure.
Well, for first up, we're classified as super predators for a start.
Are we obligate carnivores?
No, we are omnivores. Our teeth say us to that.
Yeah, but we are a super predator.
For plants, we have teeth for meat.
We do not. Our biology does not obligate us to consume meat. Correct?
We have teeth to consume meat.
Well, I mean, I also have. I have hands to fucking choke you.
Why have canines?
Yeah, and I have hands.
If we were meant to only eat plants, we wouldn't have canines or molars. For the matter of fact, we'd only have incisors.
I mean, gorillas have canines. They don't eat insects and small mice, but nothing like what we eat. Cows. You'd need larger canines for that, and you would have to chew like upwards and be able to swallow large amounts rather than chewing from side to side. We're not really supposed to eat in large amounts. I mean, animals who do have canines, like gorillas, they do have canines and they do eat small animals, but our biology doesn't really work in favor of that. I wouldn't say, but maybe not.
Plants have astounding abilities to sense and react to this world, but I mean, they're the same as your iPhone, so I get it.
Oh my god!
I got someone.
Aaron, I think
our iPhones do.
I'm not on your side either on this.
Yeah, well, why don't you eat your iPhone then? I mean, if it's why not eat it? Eat your electronics. I mean, it's the same as the plant, right?
Okay, everyone. So this guy here did a study on. This is one of the guys that studies plants, and I tweeted him to ask him, "Are plants sentient?" So there we go. You can see he's a plant scientist, and are plants sentient? I don't think plants are intelligent or sentient, as we understand those things. There's the guy who wrote the study about plant sentience saying no.
Ouch.
And when was that study done?
Well, that's really recent. It's on the BBC. It was on the BBC.
I'm looking at one from Oxford right now from July 2016 that says the opposite.
Well,
I'm not confident in your ability to understand the study.
What? Sorry,
I'm not even confident in your ability to even distinguish what sentience is, so I wouldn't trust your ability to understand the study.
Sure.
Can you define sentience in a way that would make... Wait. Can you define sentience? Are you able to define sentience in a way that would make me confident in your ability to actually understand the word? Can you do that?
Can you do it? I don't think I have to prove myself to you, and that's a real douchebag move, to be quite honest. You guys asked for studies, you guys asked for fucking evidence, and I just put a shitload of documentaries and studies. But yet, hey, whatever, he shows a study from God knows when with a black and white photo of some fucking priest. You're right. Keep telling yourself that plants are fucking...
Okay.
How am I supposed to be...
Razzle dazzle.
How can I expect her
FriendEd,
to understand?
Actually, Adam, what's your opinion on plant sentience?
I think you guys just hate solar. You guys are totally against solar. That's why you hate plants.
No, I want to know your opinion, honestly. What do you think?
No, plants aren't sentient. Come on.
Okay, cool, right. So we all agree except for Aaron.
I don't know that bugs are sentient.
Neither do I.
But I don't know that fish are sentient.
Safe, but I don't care. Fish,
they're
they're, you're really pushing it there. There's most people that study fish and marine biology would disagree with you there. But insects, at least most of them, I mean, cockroaches, you can get a little bit more blurry there because they actually have more neurons.
What is the definition of sentience? I mean, what are you saying? I don't understand.
To respond to stimuli, to feel what's going on around you, to react to it.
No, that is 100% wrong.
Yeah, I don't think that's it.
Okay, we'll look it up right now.
Yeah, I think you should.
You want the actual literal definition? I'll give you the literal fucking definition.
Yeah. Give me the literal definition.
Able to perceive or feel things. That's the definition.
That's not responding to stimuli.
Do you understand the difference between perceiving and reacting to stimulus?
If
my
you perceive
iPhone's
it
touch
and
track-
you feel it, you react to it.
Wait. Do you understand what consciousness is?
Oh, Jesus Christ. You asked for sentient. Now it's consciousness. Now the plants be conscious. I think
Yes,
plants are conscious,
yes.
to be quite honest. Hey, you ever watch a sunflower move to the sun? Is that not it being sentient?
When I drag my screen to open up the lock on the phone, you're saying that this is sentient. It's reacting to stimulus. It's quotation marks perceiving reality. I don't think you understand the
It's
difference.
not feeling it. It's not feeling it. It doesn't feel things.
Okay, guys,
There's no
Well,
feeling.
it's feeling the sensation against the screen that it's reacting to it.
Guys, can we just please note that the article she's linked to me quite clearly says plant intelligence, and I searched for the word sentience. It's not even mentioned within the article. This is not evidence of plant
Look
sentience.
at the documentaries. The documentaries will show you plants reacting to their stimuli,
Yeah,
reacting to the environment, moving
intelligence.
out of the way of danger,
Intelligence.
moving out of the way of danger.
Hormones and
Your
stuff
phone,
and
your
chemical
phone is not going to
reactions
move out of the way of
and stuff.
danger. A plant will.
Oh yeah, no. The self-driving cars will move them out of the way of danger. They are intelligent, and they will move
Self-driving
you out of the way of
cars will
danger.
drive you into a wall too. But whatever. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. I really think you need to look at plant paranormal perception versus plant perception physiology, because there's a very clear differentiation between the two, and they're not synonymous with each other. Study it a little bit, and then please
I
get
think
back.
that there's more up-to-date studies than what you guys have given yourself the chance to even look into. And you just want to keep telling yourself that plants are these non-feeling objects, so that way you feel good while you're consuming them.
Aaron,
And then you can tell everyone else, oh, but animals feel, and you should feel bad. Well, plants feel too, but you don't want to accept that.
I just debunked your own article that you sent
No,
me.
you didn't.
Yes,
No,
I
you
did.
didn't.
That was the one you sent me in the chat.
Because I sent a fucking bunch of them. Why don't you look at all of them?
Oh, yeah, but I've
Take
just
the
gone
3
through.
hours. Watch the 3 hours worth of documentaries there.
I've just gone
See it
through
with your own
the
eyes.
study. You just sent.
Because
me
I don't trust your reading ability, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I sent you a study that wasn't applicable. Yeah, you sent me
I
one.
think that you guys purposely take what you want out of whatever it is to fit your agenda.
Erin, the entire time you've been taking what you wanted, because when we stated that so much deforestation is down to animal agriculture, so many of the crops that we produce go to the
And it's
animals.
always been.
You don't want
The
to hear
deforestation
that.
has always been about that.
Goes
It's always been
back-
about that.
Are you
What's
just
that?
But then again, I stated right from the beginning of this, I'm not talking about corporate farming. That's all you guys talk about. You don't want to talk about the fact that there are people who actually raise their own animals and slaughter their own animals.
If most
Yes, we
people
will.
raise
They're not corporate farmers. They treat those animals with respect. They let those animals run free. They feed those animals daily. They love those animals, and then they do the slaughtering in a very respectful manner. Just like
You have a
hunters,
profound
there's
opinion.
hunters
You
that
have a-
hunt animals to
you
do it the
have
most
a-
painless and quick way. But you guys don't
You
want to
have-
see that. You want to compare it all to pigs trapped in fucking cages where they can't move.
Okay, guys, can I just bring
You have
up
a
this is
profound
hold on.
ability to mind read.
Oh, 2 seconds.
Wait a second, Tim's in. He's going to mic drop.
Yeah, no, 2 seconds.
All
This
right.
is, hold on, Tim.
Can I
Give me,
just say
give me 2 seconds,
because
Tim.
I really want to. I'm sorry, Chris. For the sake of the audience, we need to move on from this nonsense because this is just ridiculous. Whether or not plants are sentient is completely irrelevant because within the biological system
But
that we
that was
live
the
in,
first thing. Was they're not sentient. That was the first thing you
can
said.
do you have the capacity to not talk and to just self-regulate yourself for like
No,
maybe
not when
2
you guys
minutes?
go to change the goddamn fucking time. Like,
I'm not changing the subject. I'm explaining why your argument's bunk. So
Let him speak.
plants take in the energy from the sun and they turn that into carbon-based life. They are the only organisms that are capable of doing that. So without plants, animals do not exist. Okay, so animals need plants to exist. So whether or not they're intelligent or sentient is irrelevant. We would still require them to be able to subsist. You do not need animals to subsist. That is the difference. If you do not understand that difference now, you will never understand that difference.
Can we also just bear in mind this is the other study she linked us. Once again, plant intelligence, no sign of the word sentience within the article. Just wanted to point that out.
Get it, Tim.
Yeah, Tim with another mic drop.
Uh,
I mean, how much more evidence do we need to show now? I mean, like, Unless we've got to watch 3 hours of
Do you think bacteria are sentient? Viruses are sentient?
Those poor bacteria.
Viruses aren't even alive.
I know. I'm seriously asking. Does she think bacteria are sentient? Does she think viruses are sentient? Does it work quite? As soon as you become a cell, does it start becoming sentient, or are atoms sentient? Like, I'm asking serious questions right now.
Nick, you might say unmute.
You don't eat bacterium. You're eating plants. Okay, so why don't you stay on point?
Bacteria. I'm asking. Like,
oh, you do? You live off of bacteria and viri now? That's what you're eating? That's your diet?
Well, if bacteria were sentient, then there would be moral qualms about B12,
not
right?
Your diet, right? I'm going to the point that you guys try to shame people who eat any kind of meat or fish or eggs or milk or cheese. You try to shame them for doing that as if you're morally superior. And I say, well, plants also feel. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, they don't. Well, I'm showing you they do. And then you want to come and jump right in.
Can you answer the fucking question?
No, because you don't eat bacteria. You don't eat viri, so they are irrelevant to the conversation.
Logical consistency. Do you understand logical consistency? Do you understand logical consistency?
You don't, because they're not relevant
and viruses sentient. Which one? Both? Neither? Can you answer the fucking question? Thank you.
And we do eat bacteria, B12, and
you know what? If Prick stopped muting me, maybe I could answer the question. One, they're not relevant to the conversation because we're not talking about bacteria.
You fucking are. Logical consistency.
Because you eat bacterium. Because you eat them.
We do. We do eat bacteria.
No, you don't. You eat plants, motherfucker. That's
bacteria in our stomach.
Yeah, it's in your stomach, living. It's fucking living, you dipshit. It helps you fucking digest all those.
Controlling the bacteria in your stomach with antibiotics. There would be moral qualms.
Oh my God!
Breathe.
Now.
Yeah, breathe,
you are
people.
fucking,
Breathe.
You really are.
You guys through today's guided meditation.
Breathe, guys.
Boot this woman. Boot this woman or kill her respectfully.
I feel embarrassed to be a woman right now. I'm so sorry, guys. If it helps some gays, so I'm not really a woman.
She was a vile harpy if there ever was one.
I blame Adam for all of this.
Humanely.
Adam, this is who you attract.
It's okay. I mean, it wasn't that bad. Jeez.
Oh God.
I'm in pain, like physically. I'm in a lot of pain, and I feel pretty ashamed.
Oh no, you're not going in the words or violence direction, are you? Come on.
Bacteria, though. No, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Bacteria, though, on the list.
This has been so fun.
I thought fucking ask yourself was unreasonable.
I'm actually, I have to take off soon. So I just jumped in because I wanted to know, like, I didn't want your questions to go unanswered. Like, I don't want to be perceived as being dishonest. I'm trying to be as honest as I can, but there's this thing where morality is based on the unconscious. So really, I mean, I'm guessing as much as anyone else is. I don't know why I feel this way.
Fred, I think you're, a positive guy. I liked your affect. I'd like to talk about you with, like, in regards to morality, completely detached from veganism sometime. I think that's an interesting topic. Because I have one simple question that has always kind of concerned me. Do you would you say, like, all subjective experience, our consciousness, our that is all derived from physical processes within the universe? So from systems, from atoms, from you're
asking if I'm a biological determinist, right?
Yeah. Not further than biological. I mean, it has to fundamentally come down to some physical properties of the universe, right?
I am pretty close to a biological determinist. I'm reading Robert Sapolsky's book now, Behave, and Robert Sapolsky is a biological determinist, pretty much.
You biological determinist is kind of like a weird way to phrase it, because if you ask any physicist, they'll say that the universe is deterministic. So and insofar as
totally right, but there's the idea that we have free will as human beings, and I don't necessarily know that we have free will.
Well, of course not. Free will is a bunk concept. It's paradoxical.
So you don't believe in free will? You're a biological determinist.
No, I'm a physicist determinist in terms of
the universe being deterministic, and so far as that it may not be determinist, it will have randomness at only the quantum level, and that still is no concept of free will that you can derive from just pure chance, right?
Okay, so you're saying the randomness comes up from the quantum level, and then...
No, I don't actually posit that, and I don't take that on that position. But like insofar as like any legitimate physicist could offer you a non-completely deterministic universe, they would only be able to offer you randomness at purely just the quantum level. And I mean, free will, I think, is a bunk concept, even if the universe.
Do you think? Do you believe in free will?
No, I think it's such a bunk concept that even if the universe wasn't deterministic, that it's itself paradoxical and it causes an infinite regress inherently.
So, do you believe in free will? I'm not.
No. Like I think that it causes infinite regress.
Okay,
like
so you don't think free will? Okay.
Yeah. And
so,
like,
sorry. So as far as like free will goes, I mean, do you believe that there should be like systems in place that kind of just deny certain moral action, like certain actions?
I believe in free will. I think that you have to believe in free will, even if free will doesn't exist. But I think there's a level.
Oh, Michael, sorry.
Like I think you have a lot less choice than people believe that they have. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm fine with compatibilism to a point, as long as you're actually, accepting the basic principles of the universe. But, Friend, I have a quick question before you go, if you have a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, taking on the fact that like the universe is almost certainly deterministic, and consciousness it has to come from some sort of principles of the universe, right? Like whether it's chemistry, biology, physics, right? So then subjective experience comes down to objective principles. So I actually don't understand, even so far as like you say you're a moral subjectivist. I mean, if subjectivity is inherently an objective process, then fundamentally you'd still be objective unless you believe in magic.
But aren't we arguing? I mean, we're arguing two different things, because if we're talking about an objective morality that's like the best system for maximizing human happiness or whatever objective that you want, whether or not we can reach that objective morality is a completely separate question, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's kind of
because
like
people
can I chime in a sec?
Yeah, I'm gonna go anyways. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, sort of. I'd love to have a longer conversation with you another time.
Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. You can DM me. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for coming on, man. Really
appreciate
Take care.
Take care.
Cheers.
Take it easy, man.
Wow, that was
hectic. I don't hate him much anymore.
Hey,
I think Adam's a good guy, to be honest. Like, I think we've got different views, but at least he's not Aaron. Let's be fair.
By the way, my apologies.
I liked it when he was camping down Ask Yourself earlier. It was quite fun.
My apologies for spazzing out there, but like in my defense, I was also standing up, and I've just been running around for the few hours, and I'm disabled, and it's caused me a lot of pain. So I was already pissed off all day today. And when she and I'm standing while listening to her, so
it was incredible. Trust me, that was the best outburst ever. I loved it so much.
They're in your stomach.
I thoroughly enjoyed doing that, but I'm sorry if it was.
No, it's made my night.
Unpleasant.
It was brilliant.
Because like
that anyway.
A delusional woman, I suppose. You can't feel bad about that being a woman, because 80% of vegans are women. So
I feel bad about being a woman. I feel terribly bad about being a woman.
I feel bad about her being a human. Well, maybe even going farther than that. Like maybe even like I feel bad. I think she makes apes look bad, but
we are apes.
Yeah. We're also mammals. You could almost go for that far.
Did she actually get kicked, or did she leave?
I thought somebody kicked her.
I didn't kick her.
She got kicked.
I didn't.
Nick's the only one I've given any privileges to, so I don't know whether he did it.
Yeah.
No.
I hope he did.
No, I think she left then, because she went in the chat after, so maybe she just rage quit.
She was the worst, man.
Yeah, total Dunning-Kruger.
If
if bacteria are sentient, though, that would have moral implications in regards to things like antibiotics. Like she doesn't understand the consequences of her retarded positions.
I don't think she's sentient. I think she's a zombie.
I just love the fact that she linked
She's a philosophical zombie. She's a philosophical zombie. Yeah.
I love the fact that she linked me 2 studies apparently to prove plant sentience, and both were about intelligence.
Well, that was hilarious.
She got really offended when
I think that was her first encounter with a vegan, and she just hit us with every single anti-vegan meme you could think of. I don't think she didn't cover one of them. They were covered. Lion style, plant style, everything. Oh, it's perfect. God, I'm so triggered.
Well, this is
thing that I caused to microbacteria by reducing the amount of steps that I, do in a day.
Well, it's also like
apps on my phone and make sure that I'm only doing 5,000 steps a day.
And there's like there's ways we can kill bacteria. So are antibacterial soaps immoral? I mean that.
Yes,
but
they're terrible.
And you could make an argument for that in the sense that you could be making them resistant, right? But that's only because that has consequences to us actual sentient beings, not because the bacteria themselves are sentient. So like
actually, right, Tim's just put a good point. He wants to know Luke's thoughts on Erin's arguments being the only non-vegan remaining. Luke, do you want to chime in?
I thought they were shit.
I'm glad you thought that as well. You're clearly
I honestly thought, hear me out before you jump on me.
Yeah,
I thought that this is a bit Joe Rogan-ish, but Joe Rogan was talking about, I'm not saying this is fact.
Yeah.
I'm not, just hear me out. He was saying that there's some sort of hormone transfer in that. Other plants can, know whether part of the forest to get cut down or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's real data on that.
This kind of goes into the whole idea that the Earth is like a super organism, and this is high level sort of arguments about things, right? High level arguments about whether the Earth is some sort of super organism or not, and other bits and stuff.
So
I think it's a bit fanciful to think like that, and so other times I think, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's kind of like I used to. Have you guys ever heard the sci-fi series Red Dwarf?
Yeah, I love Red Dwarf. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so there was one of the Red Dwarf books. Dave Lister was actually fighting against Earth.
Oh, right.
Himself actually landed on Earth. Earth was trying to kill him because he was the last human left. Earth had enough. And there was acid rain, and he just gave up. Look, I'm sorry. Just don't kill me, or something like that. And then the Earth was like, all right, then. All right, dude, I'll let you off. It wasn't really you, right? And, I think in some ways he was poorly talking about that sometimes. And at the other times I think, she was talking shit. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, she was dropping a lot of ad homs at points, but we're just trying to keep things on point. I think that's really the biggest thing. Honestly, we should have a moderator to be a little bit more, I guess, on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll. I definitely wasn't expecting this many people and this much.
I only came on because you guys were saying something about. I can't even remember what it was now, and I was just like, "That's bollocks, that's bollocks." I live next to farms. I know farmers. They're talking shit. And then I was came on the street. I was like, "What the fuck was they talking about now?" I was just completely.
Remember what it was? Because I mean, if you can remember, we're happy to discuss. With
I can't remember now. It was so long ago now, and then this Erin shit came in, and that was a bit of shit.
Well, I mean, just so you're aware, I mean, we do a lot of these live streams, and you're more than welcome to come on any time. But it's normally not this hectic. To be fair, normally it's it's normally pretty civil.
Yeah. I think for me is, I was actually on the stream with FriendEd and Tim and Jack about a couple of weeks ago now.
Okay.
And I spoke really poorly because I was really nervous in that, and a little bit loosened up now, but which is fine. But I'm going to reduce my meat consumption because of the argument that was done in this ethical butcher book that I read, which is part of. I was trying to like read stuff and like arguments against vegans, something stupid like that. Like I was like, yeah, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm so badass or whatever. And I was like reading this guy's argument, and I was like, well, this is a compelling argument to reduce my meat consumption. And that was compelling for me. So
who wrote that?
I'll just look it up again. I've got it in my Kindle. I've only read the bits that were like sort of like more philosophical, because half
Peter
the
Singer?
book's about him, like learning how to be a butcher, and the other part of it was sort of like him, like saying, "Oh, I don't think vegans are correct for these reasons, etc." Just let me Google it, and I'll tell you. So continue on. Well, I'll find that for you.
I just wanted to apologize to you personally, because I was actually getting quite agitated there because of these really stupid arguments.
Yeah, I think we just got into it, man, and we were just like, "Oh,
no
fuck
worries.
you, dude." It's fine, man. It's the internet.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah. I mean, it's really
hard feelings.
Totally. And I mean, it's really just about like keeping it cool and staying civil, as Tim said. You know, we're all just trying to come to a general consensus, and I think that's really the point of these discussions, is to reach that consensus. And even if we don't, it's okay. We can further the discussion. Like, I'm pretty new to ethical veganism. I know a lot in my head. I just haven't really test drove a lot of the things that I know and a lot of the things that I think. So, doing like mock debates and like talking to people and hearing people, we all learn in the process, Like, I want to turn my journey into a way of, helping who are getting into veganism learn about philosophical veganism. So that's kind of my story. Like, I know a lot of these things. I've heard a lot of the arguments. I just need to see them in practice. So, and that's what we're all doing. We're not all perfect, but we know a lot. And some of us know very little. So it's coming to that common ground. So.
Sorry to chime in, but I'm just gonna hop off now. I think I'm giving myself a headache. I need to film a video. So lovely speaking to you all.
Yeah, we'll speak to you soon.
Goodbye, Ellie.
Bye.
Bye. The book is called The Ethical Butcher, and it's by a chap called Berlin Reed.
The Ethical Butcher. The Ethical Butcher.
2014. So it's a few years ago now.
Cool.
Well, I'd like to ask you, you want to reduce it because you read this book, your meat consumption. But what exactly is your argument for eating it at all?
I'm not going to make any sort of moral argument because I don't have one.
Or any argument. I mean, you must have a reason for doing it.
Well,
we know his reason. It's tasty.
That is one part of it. Two, I'm a big bloke. I'm 15 stone. I'm 5'10". I'm built like a brick shit house. I used to be in a rugby team. I suppose that isn't an excuse, but I have a big mouth and I like to shove stuff in my gob.
Do you think these are good arguments to do anything?
Pardon?
You think they are good arguments to do anything?
No, I'm not saying they're good arguments.
I think you can't do that on veganism. You have to eat more as a vegan. You realise you have to eat more as a vegan because the foods are lower in calories in terms of caloric density.
I used to be cyclist.
You can actually eat more. Huh?
Yeah, well, I used to be a cyclist, and there's only so much you can fit in your stomach, mate. Because I used to do a lot of 100 odd mile rides, and you have to do some sort of carb loading. And to be honest, you end up basically using gels. Because it's the only way to get enough. So what happens is that you run out of particular sugars in your body.
You can gorge on food and then still be at a caloric sort of No,
you can't.
I was just going to say, you might want to look up a guy called John Joseph from the band The Cro-Mags. He runs Ironman triathlons as a.
I'm not listening to anything. You can't
dates.
ride a bloody bike.
What's that? John Joseph.
You could just eat dates and bananas.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
Iron
and
Man
I'll be
food.
on the fucking toilet for the next week. look,
mate, I ride a bike and I'm vegan. What are you saying that you can't do on a vegan diet?
I'm not going to get into this diet quagmire because it's look. I have decided that this guy's argument is compelling for me, okay? And I am locally making sure I get my meat from butchers. So I live in the New Forest, right? I know where all my produce comes from. So I know exactly how it's treated. And I've made that decision now. Okay? And that's how I'm gonna do stuff from now on. It's not been easy because sometimes I just want to go down to Tesco and buy whatever in a plastic packet.
So you're
I'm trying not to. I basically said I cannot do that.
So you're not really open to changing your position.
No, I am. No, I am open to change my opinion.
Why?
So I can't hear you, mate.
You're breaking up a bit, Owen.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Can I ask you this quickly? I want to see if you're smarter than FriendEd and more consistent. If you had a atomically similar meat that didn't require the death of an animal, and it's the exact same texture, taste, it's atomically similar, the same rather. So at a molecular level, they're indistinguishable after the fact, except for just one required the death of an animal and one didn't. Would you at least require actually eat the one that didn't require suffering and death?
Probably, yeah. It's not
okay.
That's not a big leap.
Yeah, so at least you're smarter and more consistent than FriendEd.
Well,
at least
it's
on
not,
that
it's not,
issue.
the thing is, you guys put a lot of things on consistency and human beings.
Yeah, well, logic
like
is
that.
important. Yeah.
Well,
I also think
once the person, mate, this is the thing that I kind of think you guys how you guys sell it isn't good because people aren't Mr. Spock, mate.
Different forms of argument. Like
I'm not getting, but
I don't tend to argue. I don't tend to argue logic with people. Like if you actually met me on the street, like I just talk to people like people, and I don't even mention logic.
Yeah, but I also think like if someone like FriendEd makes the argument that it's fine to eat a cow that suffered and died, even though you have an alternative that's identical, you've already lost a great portion of the general public there. Most people would not agree with that. So I think if someone argues that, you should just count that as a victory.
At the same time, I think there'll be, it's kind of like it's kind of like the argument made about black market. There's organic food; it's more expensive. Whatever.
Yeah, but organic's
bulk. People buy that because it's bourgeois. People buy meat because it's bourgeois. That's what I'm very pragmatic. I'm a programmer. I'm a software engineer. So I think about things pragmatically. I have to produce results on a daily basis for somebody else. Right?
And we don't.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying where I'm just trying to explain to you where I'm coming from.
Okay. Where are you coming from? I mean, oh yeah, with the program. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but what we're saying is we don't always have a pragmatic approach. It depends who we're talking to. I'm going to talk to my mom about veganism very differently than someone who is philosophically capable of discussing certain things. Like, I also am going to talk to a child very differently about it. I mean, for instance, great example, Joey Carbstrong has shown videos with an Asian couple and their child watching a video. I mean, it's different. It's different. It's very, very different. And like how they talk about it, and it's informative. And sometimes, obviously, there's more tension in certain, I guess, with certain people. It just depends who you're talking to. So we're very mindful of that. And even in regards to ethical things, I mean, I would say most vegans have begun to look into different industries and how to be more ethical in certain industries. I mean, myself, I try to reduce the amount of, suffering that I cause in just the products that I buy. I mean, I feel like that's really what most vegans shoot for. So,
okay, that's fair enough. I have no argument with that.
I think I can really speak on behalf of all vegans because we actually made the decision to change and go vegan.
I would say that I'd be excluded from that because there's a lot of statements that people make which are kind the sort of quasi utilitarian type statements that I think are stupid because they don't take into account enough variables. So there's that typical like hypothetical experiment where you push the fat guy off the bridge to stop the train from killing the 5 people, right?
Yeah, but that'd be funny at least.
Yeah, compared to pushing a lever to kill 1 person rather than 5, more people are going to push the lever than they are to push the fat person off the bridge, right? But
push the fat person on the bridge because it's going to be just funny.
See the
if it's a total bullshit like non-realistic scenario.
Yeah. But in terms of a hypothetical,
that's not ever going to happen. I'm not interested.
Yeah. But in terms of like hypothetical, even if like it shows the confusion of utilitarians because they're not taking into account other variables like human psychology, and when you say that
yeah, but I'm not a utilitarian. I'm a
pragmatist. No. I'm responding to that. I'm responding to that other vegan, Nicholas.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because I'm saying he said he was speaking for other vegans. I would want to exclude myself from that because I find out that a lot of other vegans will say that they don't want to buy like new computers or various things like this, but they don't understand the potential consequences of certain behaviors that they think are doing for ethical reasons. Like, for example, sometimes they'll only buy fair trade, which prevents the economic pressures of helping uplifting the most impoverished societies, which have no better option than the option that they think is detestable and immoral, so that they end up making them even take worse options. Or the kind of like technological things was okay, so are we going to reduce the economic pressure of technological progress, and are we going to just progress slower and just being able to help less humanity because we're doing it at such a slower rate in terms of how much we can help people, because the technology has direct consequences in the moral frameworks. So a lot of vegans will take these kind of more not on off the topic of veganism. They'll start thinking about things morally, and it's somewhat of a utilitarian, quasi-utilitarian, but they're not taking into account enough variables, and they come to stupid conclusions that I generally disagree with. And like you brought up organics earlier, I think organic is a bunk concept that has no scientific validity. So it's just a naturalistic.
Yeah, but it's
fallacy,
branded.
so.
It's branded.
Yeah. But like a lot of things are branded and they're bullshit, right? It's just marketing.
I mean, it's not black and white. It's all relative to what exactly.
Back a sec, guys.
I'm not saying I speak for vegans, Race. You're not a very clever guy, by the way.
Pardon?
Not you, Nick. Race, the guy in the comments. He's like the worst kind of vegans that give us the reputation of. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I mean, he's the one that gives us a bad reputation of being that kind of cult mentality. I really think it's important for us to disassociate ourselves with him. Yeah, he's like fake vegan garbage.
Grace Lever's a good guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
a good guy.
But he's very foolish.
I want to know how animal products are good Iron Man food. That's probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. How does protein equal, endurance?
There's actually
it's like the worst fuel for your body.
Training, mate.
Like basically a documentary on the guy. If you want to watch it.
As somebody who's done a lot of cycling, what you do is you tend to overtrain yourself, right? So you overtrain. I'm not as fit as I was, but I can still sit on a bike for 8 hours and slog it out. Right? I'll be dead by it. I probably won't be able to do it the next day, but I can still do it because I did so much overtraining in my 20s. It's, I could just keep on turning those pedals at 70, 80 RPM all day on a particular gear as long as it's rolling hills. I can just keep on doing that because it's, so just did that and did that and did that. It's kind of like, my teacher used to use an example of a guy who he used to get knackered after about 10 minutes of lifting bricks, and this fat guy can walk upstairs, can shovel cement all day, right? You can just keep on doing it if you're trained for it and you've got enough, you've ate enough, all right? Okay, that's just how it is. There's training, there's overtraining, and there's it's conditioning. So
and then there's muscle glycogen, which is made out of carbohydrates. Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You run out of that, you can't do anything.
I know this, but there's conditioning makes up a lot about like endurance, which is what a cycling event is.
Okay, well, you get better conditioning the longer you go because of the more carbohydrates you put in your body.
Yeah, that's what you use.
That's how it works.
That's why you use like energy gels and stuff like that, because they're like a quick.
Which is
they're
what fruit
fix.
is.
Yeah,
it mimics fruit.
Pardon?
Energy gels mimic fruit. It's like the same thing, right? Except they take away the fiber.
Yeah, but they're much more energy dense.
Yeah. Okay, so but how is energy gels comparable to meat? Like why would meat be the answer?
Energy gels are the answer both to vegans and non-vegans.
Because it's sugar based, it can be absorbed quickly. Same with bananas. Same with flapjacks. Because I used to have like a flapjack or two in my back pocket that I used to eat while I was cycling. And then I used to have a Coke as well. So it's a quick sugar boost. It's a quick sugar boost that you need.
Yeah,
but I thought your argument was I need animal products.
Man. I've done 100 miles for like 20. I've ridden centuries for quite a lot of my life, mate.
Okay.
So are you arguing?
It's anecdotal, though.
Yeah, no, but are you?
I mean, I do cardio too. I'm doing a marathon in a month.
Authority, but I just, in my experience, these things are quick sugar dose. They pick you up, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do. Yeah. I forget the technical terms, but it's a glycogen. You run out of glycogen.
But I thought your argument was that I need meat in order to do these big bike races and stuff. Isn't that your original argument? What does that have to do? What does that have to do with gels?
Meat. No, I didn't ever say you definitely needed meat, but for somebody who's like of my size, of my build, trying to do these events, you need to put on a bit of muscle, and you need a bit of.
No, the lighter you are, the easier it is because the less weight you have to carry.
Sure. I know this, but what you have to do is you have to have I just can't keep myself, energetic without eating a certain amount of meat. Maybe there's deficiency in my diet somewhere else.
Have you tried
look. Right. Before you do this, right? Diet shit is a total fucking quagmire because it's totally different from person to person. And it's yes, it is.
Do you realize?
Yes, it is.
No.
Whoa.
No.
To a degree, but we're all the same species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a very small degree.
He spends,
very, very small.
He spends 10 hours a day welding stuff in heat. You can he's about 150 pounds, which is around about 10 stone, right? He literally eats around about 6 meals a day, and he has a pizza covered with meat with doner kebab on top for dinner. Well, that is a regular thing for him, and he's 10 stone, right? If somebody in an office ate that, they'll be obese within about a month.
That doesn't mean nutrition is different for everybody.
Yeah, nutrition is different for men and women. They have different iron needs and various things. Like there are nutritional differences. That is a legitimate topic, and it's also different based on your context.
As I said,
so if I'm a sedentary motherfucker, I might only need 1,600 calories in a day, whereas someone that's a super cyclist cycling 12 hours a day might need like 3,800 or something. I don't know, something much more absurd.
You're just talking about difference in calories, though. You're not talking about
just calories. It's macros, it's micros. I mean, I could come 10 times a day, and I'm going to need more zinc requirement than you if you're only ejaculating once a week. I mean, that's going to be a huge difference in terms of zinc requirement. Like there's a lot of factors that go into various different nutritional needs, and like even different medications affect your ability to absorb various nutritions or different disorders, metabolic disorders. Your ability, people have just genetic differences between how much at the rate that they absorb things like vitamin A, and like there are nutritional and micronutritional and just caloric differences between individuals, various populations, different situational, environmental contexts. I mean,
I'll tell you why certain people need different things now because they've already screwed up their bodies from bad nutrition through their whole life. But if they were eating properly since birth, they wouldn't have any of those problems that you're talking about. So nutrition isn't different for everybody.
No,
it's different for them because they have bad nutrition.
Yes,
these things are genetic.
Totally different for everybody. There is no way my 5'2" girlfriend, who is a vegetarian, can one, eat as much as me, and two, wants to eat the same things as me. It's like she's a completely different size, completely different build, and she has a different set of hormones running through her body. There is absolutely no way. Women have cravings for different types of food when they're pregnant because of hormone imbalances and chemical imbalances, etc.
Or just period differences.
No, yes.
Byron.
But it's still a dietary need at a time.
Yeah. No, I'm on your side, dude.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even know who I was speaking to then. Sorry.
So you're saying that everybody needs to eat differently, like one person should be like a fruitarian, one person's a starchivore, one person's a meat eater, and just it's all determining what the person feels like eating or what they're craving or like I don't get this. It makes no sense.
Just because there's objective individual differences does not mean that all diets are valid and there are no bad or wrong or incorrect diets that don't map out accurately onto our biology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm on you. I actually have a problem with a lot of vegans on this topic. So like, yeah.
Ready for
down. I'd like to hear it, not from an argumentative standpoint, just kind of hearing your thoughts.
Pardon?
So like, what is it that you disagree with as far as some vegans in that approach?
I just don't think a completely a completely vegan diet, and I mean vegan, not necessarily vegetarian. Like I pretty much eat vegetarian most of the time. Is realistic. For a lot of people, I know people who are vegans that say like it's not easy. It's not everybody can do it. And for various reasons, so that tells me that it's not quite as you can just do it, or it's for everybody can do it in terms of whether that's psychologically or dietary or whatever. I don't think it's just as clean cut as
that's just what their brain is telling them. That's just what they're telling themselves, that they can't do that, right? It's nothing to do with biology, nothing to do with nutrition.
Where
what the guy's telling me, I'm talking to him. He's trying to sell veganism and vegetarian to me. He's going, well, there's all these problems with it. There are some problems with it. Let's be realistic about it, and that's that's perfectly fine for me. As I said, I eat. I pretty much for all intents and purposes are vegetarian now, right?
But are the problems are they due to current infrastructure, or are they inherent in veganism, according to the vegan?
There's.
I think it was more dietary problems than anything else. He was trying to replace part of his diets, and he was a harder cyclist than me. He used to spank me up hills. So we're talking about somebody who's fitter than me, had harder dietary requirements than I did, because I just used to stuff my face after a big a big day.
So what part was difficult according to him?
Well, I think the whole like cutting out all animal products, because you're not only talking about dietary stuff. Well, I don't know. I honestly I haven't.
Because I mean, there are difficult parts of being a vegan, but most of them are due to like infrastructure or convenience of other people. So it's difficult to eat out. It's difficult maybe if you're in a like food desert or whatever. But
I don't think he was. I don't think he was doing that.
And not being in other alternatives, because I mean, here's the thing: is managing a vegan diet. Like I'm a chef. Okay, I've been a chef since I was a baby. You know, I know about dehydrating food. I know about like creating my own dressings and ways of preserving food. There are plenty of ways in which you preserve plants. And also, you know, there's ways of condensing your nutrition, not having a caloric deficit, still maintaining the same nutrition, having it all carefully planned while doing a marathon. I mean, I don't know exactly like what you're getting at. Like, what is it just that you don't know the other alternatives? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, maybe I don't know. You know, I'm not being arrogant about it. All I'm saying is that from what I've heard and from what I've spoken to with people, is that some people who, you know, this guy was a Buddhist, and there was other people who were speaking to online who were vegans, and they said, it wasn't, it can't be that done. I've also had a friend who was a vegan who was told to eat meat by his doctor, because he was severely ill. He was severely tired from it. And maybe that's to do with the diet thing as well.
All right, can I interject there for a moment?
All I'm saying is, I don't know, but I'm just saying I don't think it's easy as you're making it out to be.
Okay, wait. So you just said two things. So I'm going to hit the first thing that you said. So
fair enough.
What was the nutrition that this guy was missing? Because
I don't know. I didn't know him when he was vegan. I only knew him afterwards.
Okay, so I know sick vegans, and I also know sick meat eaters. I would definitely say I know more sick meat eaters. However, that doesn't really matter. The point is, like, what nutrition was it that he was missing that was in meat?
Whatever was in, he said
and plants. What is that nutrition?
All I'm saying is he had a chicken dinner and he felt great afterwards. So whatever was in that, made him feel a lot better. And since then, he said, "No, I'm not doing veganism anymore because I felt awful and I'm not going to want to live like that anymore."
I mean, honestly, if I'm going to be completely real with you, what it sounds like is just a lazy vegan. I mean, I would say,
as I said, I don't know.
I would say misinformed or uninformed vegan, maybe potentially more than lazy.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, yeah. Just to take that to another level, I mean, it's really just like uninformed. So, yeah, and then just trying to
or misinformed. There's a ton of shitty information out there.
Sure. I mean, like, and a lot of people don't really engage with the ethics, so it's purely either A, an emotional response, or B, it's just like, okay, I wouldn't want this done to myself. Like, it's an ethical thing, It's like, okay, I wouldn't want to be killed myself, so why should I want to harm an animal? Why should I want to kill an animal? So I mean, there's different sides to it. I know all life is equal vegans. I know, people actually believe in moral hierarchy, which I would say most logical vegans believe in moral hierarchy, and we're willing to, talk about these things. But we're we apply these things in the, nutritional context too. But it's really just like, okay, what nutrients can you not find in plants that are specific to meat? Like what is it in meat?
I got a question here. Hold on. For the L&R guy here, I don't know his name, but if you started a child out on, say, like Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen or like a really optimal vegan diet, and you started every child out on that diet, right, on an optimal vegan diet, nutrition is different for everybody, or would you say that optimal vegan diet would be fine for everybody?
Well, look, mate, I don't know. I've seen news reports, etc., saying, children being taken off people because the mother was forced on a vegan diet on like a young child, and it affected growth and stuff like that. I don't really want to get into stuff like that because I really don't know. But all I'm saying is, you know, there's certain things you're going to need when you're growing up. You know, you're going to need a load of calcium. You know, it's bones and stuff.
Calcium.
I don't know. You're asking me things I don't know. Okay.
I was actually asking the yin yang guy though. I was actually asking the L and R dude there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Little Willie.
We can hit your point after. Go ahead and talk, LR. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was kind of having this discussion with this guy that I have a lot of problems with. In terms of the what part was exactly that you wanted to bring up to me again? Sorry.
Okay, so you start out all kids on like an optimal vegan diet, like Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, or like I don't know, the Starch Solution or something.
Sure.
And you give it to all children who are just when they're born. Would you still say that diet is different and nutrition is different for everybody, or would that be fine?
Yeah, because there's genetic things that you can find that are, you know, like before they even get their first food. You know, you can look at them in the fetus and you know, look at their genetics, and you can find that there's different genetic factors that go into things like absorbing things like vitamin A, or you know, they would just have to eat like maybe an extra half a cup or 2 cups of sweet potato or something like that a day. And things like iron, you know, women with heavier flow, they need to have more iron.
Okay, I got that part. So Dr. Greger and Dr. McDougall, they also say only 5% of diseases come from genetic diseases. The other ones are from harmful foods and environmental factors, chemicals, things like that. So only 5% actually come from genetics. And he says when you eat a whole foods plant-based diet, you can actually reshuffle the cards, the bad hand you were dealt, and it will fix like 90% of those. So I don't know how genetics has anything to do with it.
You know,
you're talking past each other.
See, that still affects hundreds of millions of human beings, for starters. And I mean, there's genetic differences. There's differences in environmental circumstances, different needs in just morphological. I mean, a woman with heavy flow compared to a man. Men just have more need for magnesium than women. It's just like there's various dietary difference. The thing is, though, if you're eating a healthy enough and eating enough, you'll probably do well enough. But you might not be getting optimal needs. You might need to supplement, or we might just need to wait until we get various. This isn't even a topic of veganism or ethics. This is just a complexity of our biology, and those claims that they make about the 5%, no one that is credible would make those claims with any degree of certainty. And I mean, insofar as
so Dr. McDougall and Dr. Greger aren't credible, is that what you're saying?
Insofar as that they're actually going to be making those claims substantively, and with any degree of certainty, because from what I have heard from them, they are making kind of guesstimations, sort of based off the data that is kind of weak. And they're acknowledging that fact. They're kind of agnostic because they wouldn't know. And you're the one that I'm having a problem with, because I feel like you're kind of taking them out of context. But if you were to look at various people within the field, scientific consensus and peer review, then you wouldn't be able to justify the claim that you just made there. And you can read the Emperor. Okay, you can read the Emperor of Maladies, various other books on this topic about cancer and genetics, and you would learn that you're kind of full of it, because that is just
okay. What diet do you start a kid out on? What diet do you start a kid out on?
Look. Diet is not the solution to all genetic and biological problems. We evolved to pass down our genes. We didn't evolve to live happy, healthy lives that are long and prosperous.
I got what you're saying. Right? I just want to know, you have a kid, what diet you giving that kid?
Yeah, I'm giving them a diet not too far off of what you would get with that. What is that, like something that dozen or something that Gregor has, something very similar along those lines, right? Or at least ideally. And but that's the thing, is that the claims that you're making are not valid claims in regards to the peer review and scientific literature.
I understand a guy could whack off more than another guy and need more zinc, and a woman becomes pregnant and all that stuff. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about.
But there's also genetic variability. There's tremendous genetic variability.
Yeah, like I mean,
I think it's very minor to the way you're blowing it out of proportion, though.
No, because
I think there's still a one diet fits all.
Valid. I'm not even saying that there isn't, but that one diet has a lot of diversity within that one diet. I mean, you could just say, well, it depends how broad of a reference you're going to say this diet. If you're saying the cucumber diet, well, then you're stupid. But or like there are wrong diets. Like there's the ketards I call them ketards for a reason, right? So there are wrong diets. There are diets that just don't work with the biology. A mercury-based diet is going to get you nowhere. There are ways to do it stupidly and that don't map onto our biology. But then there's a generalized diet that will pretty much fit the entire population of humans. But even within that generalized diet, you're going to have to, play to individual needs within that diet. It's not a black and white diet. There's a ton of room for variability between various macros, various micronutrients. I mean, I could just be eating a little bit more, say, cabbage and kale because of my needs on various things, maybe like calcium because of genes.
So you're one of those guys that goes onto MyFitnessPal and punches in every single thing that they ate every single day to make sure that they got every single micro and macronutrients in the proper amounts? Or do you just eat a basic good diet, like a whole foods plant-based diet?
I also do various supplements like vitamin D. I mean, 2/3 of Canadians are vitamin D deficient. It's just a hemisphere problem. There's various supplements that I do. I eat, kind of generally, but I also don't give a crap that much about my health. It's the ethical concerns. I mean,
but what's the solution to what you're saying then? What's the solution? Everybody has to take blood tests. Like, what is it?
Okay. Yeah. The end game solution would be genetic testing and blood testing for all individuals so that you could at least understand your exact specific needs. But obviously this isn't practical currently. I'm just talking about the claims that you're making aren't, valid in regards to the science. But
blood tests can be wrong too, like depending on if you have a high fat meal right before you go to a blood test.
Which is why I put emphasis
meal, it'll make you low in iron.
Which is why I put it.
And then a lot of the times when you go take blood tests, you can be worse off thinking you need something you don't. And a lot of people die from being misdiagnosed from regular doctor checkups that they go there for no reason.
There's a lot of science in regards to what elements of blood tests are valid. Like you can't really test magnesium very accurately with blood tests, and doctors know that. They can still test it because it can be useful to some degree, in extreme deficiency cases. But if minor or borderline, it really can't tell you much. I mean, you can almost tell as much just from pee. There's a lot of complexity. I was saying in regards the solution, like the end game, would ideally just be genetic testing, and just checkups in a universal case, blood testing as well. And the technology that we have for blood testing now might not be the blood testing technology that we have 15, 25 years from now. And you said solution. If you're looking for right now, we're not that far off, but you're making claims that are beyond what the evidence would justify right now. And that's what I have
I'm saying the claims you're making are frivolous, and there's nobody should even really worry about what you're saying. Born to see if there's like any problems or whatever, right? And if there is, deal with that. But if not, he's fine. Eat a whole foods plant-based diet, you're good.
You're still confusing how genetics work too as well, because genetics can be activated, deactivated throughout life. Genetic I'm not sure if you're just taking like an anti-science position where you're like anti-genetic testing.
No, I'm just saying the minor little things that you're worrying about is not practical for anybody to actually worry about unless they know that they have this big problem.
So are you saying that you're just not really concerned about all the human life that would be impacted, and would benefit from these types of solutions later? Are you saying
I think a lot of people die from going to the doctors regularly and get misdiagnosed, and I think it would almost just
do you
even
think doctors kill more people than they save?
Well, you can look it up yourself. There's a lot of people that just go to the doctor for checkups and they get misdiagnosed and they die because there's actually nothing wrong with them. And then they go there and the doctor says there's something wrong with them because of these tests that they do.
I gotta ask, do you care about the animals, or are you just wanting to like propagate like in a
What do you mean? Do I care about animals? What does that have to do with nutrition?
Because the things that you're saying about nutrition, I mean, they're detached from veganism.
Well, I thought we started a talk about nutrition when dude brought up Iron Mans and stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, we talked a lot. I don't think this is going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce the concept of epigenetics. Like, surely there's going to be predispositions and things, but I mean, in terms of genetics, I mean, we don't just inhabit every predisposition. I would have schizophrenia and bipolar disorder if that were so. I mean, we certainly have the influence to change these predispositions. Obviously, there are some that are just they're unavoidable, but through epigenetics, through what we consume, it changes our DNA. Like on a cellular level, I'm not saying that we can just immediately change all these things, but I'm saying in a form of just how we take care of our bodies. Obviously, there's many different factors of epigenetics. There's like how we treat our bodies through like what we consume. Like how often we're stressed out, how often we feel positive emotions. How often we release good chemicals into the body. Like there are factors to like treat autoimmune diseases, mental disorders, like diabetes, these sort of things. There are very reversible, there are things
that's what I was saying about reshuffling the cards. Like the cure is the prevention. That's basically what it comes down to. There's no cure for banging your head against the wall while you're banging your head against the wall. The cure is don't bang your head against the wall.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other environmental circumstances.
Sorry.
It
just isn't.
There's a lot
of factors. I guess I think Mr. Nut's pretty on point because surely we should start at the roots. And I mean, like there are a lot of people that I'm sure like are vegan and have mental disorders or have like certain predispositions that still have manifested. I'm not just denying biology. We're going to inherit what we're going to inherit. However, there are ways to influence. I don't think it's a very black and white point.
No, well, I'm not saying it's black and white. Like I'm not really disagreeing with most of what he's saying, but I just think he's being too black and white in regards to how he's thinking about it, because it's not taking account all the people that aren't going to be helped through preventive measure in regards to diet. There's other environmental circumstances that causes problems.
I think you're right too. I would say you're right too, but I think the way you're saying it causes a lot of people to think that everybody's body is different. I need meat. I
tried to be very clear in regards to that.
Yeah, I think this whole issue stems from the fact that Logan assumed that what you're saying is that not everyone can be in a vegan diet, right?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I was very clear that there are
in
bad
some
diets,
regards, or that some people need drastic changes.
Yeah, the context he was responding to the, I don't know what's his name, Mix guy.
Yeah, just call me Luke, dude.
Okay, sorry,
yeah,
Luke.
Okay.
So that was the context for the conversation at first. So I think there's a misunderstanding. You're kind of talking past each other.
Yeah,
it just kind of sounds like Joe Rogan's talking to me when I hear that. When I hear everybody's different.
I tried to be very clear that not all diets are the same. That there are wrong diets.
Do you think a 6'6" bodybuilder has the same dietary requirements of my 5'2" girlfriend?
Calories.
Right, well,
calories. That's all it is.
Things? What other things?
It's many other
what
things.
If he does,
steroids, calories? I don't know.
I have very different nutritional needs from my brother.
Protein. He's going to need more calories. He's going to need more fats. He's going to need a load of other stuff, right? And I know.
I don't agree. A positive nitrogen balance, you can cross those. All it is mass and steroids for bodybuilders. So calories plus drugs.
Not always. It depends whether you'll go in the extreme bodybuilders that they do today. You know, even Arnie used a very small amount of steroids, but that is getting into bodybuilding, which is an entirely different subject. So, but regularly, if there's a big guy and he's doing a physical job, he's going to need to eat a lot, and it's going to require something that's going to fill him up. It's going to require some meat or calories. And
no,
I just don't.
No.
Yes, it does.
Cereals, like all these things have calories. There's plant foods with tons of calories.
You get a bulge in your stomach. This is the problem that actually bodybuilders have, by the way, is they have something called a bodybuilder's gut. You know, there's a book called Muscle, which actually covers all of this. They actually get something called a carb.
Yeah, I've seen the bodybuilder's gut. It's HGH that causes that.
Yeah, so
HGH causes bodybuilder's gut.
It's not quite as simple as you say it is. The problem I'm having with what you're saying is you keep on oversimplifying stuff.
Yeah, he's oversimple. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Can I just jump in real quick?
So Mr. Olympia is a bodybuilder who's vegan. Patrick Baboumian's a strong man who's vegan. It's just calories. It has nothing to do with meat.
No, there's micronutrition difference. I want to hear Tim. He just joined, so let's hear him.
Sorry, Tim.
I just want to. No, it's okay. I just wanted to make a quick point about there's no one species on the planet that has a universal diet. Now that I'm not trying to argue that humans need meat by any means. I don't think there are any humans that require meat. I'm going to be very clear about that. There are no humans, in my opinion, that require meat to be healthy unless they're like the Inuit Eskimos. Other than that, I don't think there are any humans that require meat to be healthy. And even regarding the Inuits, that might not be true. Now, the way I would argue that is you just need to look at other genus of animals. You could look at ursine animals. You could look at bears. Bears have a wildly diverse range of diets, whether they're polar bears, Kodiak bears, black bears, Argentinian spectacled bears. There's all sorts of different bears. They have all sorts of different diets. But we could even look at it within the human context if we look at a time before humans were globalized. When we were separated by land masses and by oceans, humans had different diets. And during that time, our genetic ancestry drifted apart from what our African ancestors used to eat. As people moved towards the cold climates of Europe, they adapted to different diets. And as people moved across, as they moved across the Bering Strait into the southwest of what is now the United States, they had a different diet. As they moved down into South America, they had a different diet. In the tropics and subtropic regions, they had a different diet. And so those genetic changes still exist within humankind today. Now, that's not to say that a whole foods plant-based diet isn't the best all-around diet for humans. I would agree it is. But I'd also, I just think we need to be clear that that doesn't mean there is a one-size-fit-all diet for all humans.
Yep.
I kind of agree, but I kind of don't agree because that's kind of like saying, well, Inuits should be eating meat, which would probably still kill them. They probably didn't adapt to that. So there is minor adaptations over huge periods of time. Most people originate from tropical areas. So obviously there, fruit is going to should be a big staple in people's diets if we're talking adaptation. Otherwise, the next thing would be starches. But there's going to be just completely minor details. It's not going to be it's going to, maybe you should have a little bit more spinach than this guy. And even if that is the case, nobody's going to even know that or do that. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to acknowledge reality. You're trying to strawman me with this crap about associating it with Joe Rogan or requiring meat or all diets are valid. My position was basically what Tim was saying there all along in terms of just genetic influence. There's such a genetic diversity between individuals. It's quite extreme, and this is not just true for the human species.
I agreed with you. I didn't say you were Joe Rogan. I agreed with you. I said you were right, but I said it was minor. You're making it seem like it's major.
Yeah,
It's a very minor detail.
You can say it's minor on like a statistical level, but there's real world consequences to these types of things. You know, some people will live and die on these minor differences. You know, ideally, the end game solution would be genetic testing, so we can help the most amount of humans possible, and at least give them the best information to work with to live a happy and healthy, productive life. You know, this is the reason why we would want them to be on a healthy diet to begin with. And
I got you, but do you think doctors are going to give you good advice? Do you think doctors are going to do the test and give you good advice about nutrition?
Not necessarily, but that's what makes mapping the human genome so important, and that's why you have to map the human genome across races, across nationalities, across ethnicities. Because, you know, a population in Asia is going to have different nutritional needs than a population that's, you know, of European descent. And a population that's of African descent is going to still have different nutritional needs. Now, can all those nutritional needs be met on a whole foods plant-based diet? Almost certainly.
Yeah.
I would say with a confidence level of about 99%.
I would even go further than
okay,
that.
I'm good with 99%.
I even go much further than that.
I mean, I agree with you guys. If you're going to say 99%, like, I totally agree.
And it's not just between, you know, these large populations. It's between individuals. There's actually more genetic variation between. You could have drastically different genetic, you know, dispositions and needs for various dietary or other things. You know, even just in terms of things like, you know, allergies or you know, like your different tolerances to alcohol between like brothers and sisters, and or even yeah, this is. So I think it was like what Mike was saying. I think a lot of this probably was miscommunication, but yeah, human biology is also highly adaptive, but there are profound, you know, biological diversity between.
I got you. I don't disagree with you.
What Tim just said at the end, like 1% to me is minor, and if people just went on a whole foods plant-based diet, that would be way better than what they're doing now, and it would, you know, if 99% people were good, that's way better than now.
I mean, you can adopt a plant-based, huh?
Oh, see you later, dude. Nice chatting to you.
You gotta go. Who?
Yeah, Logan, I think we all agree with you in that regard. I think, and this is the only reason why I jumped on, because I was agreeing with both of what you guys were saying, and I think it was just, the argument was just a matter of degrees and figuring out where is this difference of opinion, you know, kind of coming into play.
Yeah,
and I think
I got what you're saying too, but I think it's also impossible to fix what he's saying, because even if you had some test, you know how like hard it is to eat perfectly every single day? Like nobody eats perfectly, even if you're on a whole foods plant-based diet. It's impossible.
But if you have certain congenital like genetic problems, it's different from just like affecting your diet.
Yeah, I mean you could get a supplement, I guess, or whatever.
And not just that, but like I mean, you say it's impossible, but there's end game solutions to these types of things where you could put your genes in this device, and you know it could give you the perfect, you know, nutritional meal formed specifically for your biology every single day on a day-by-day basis. Like, you know, you say it's impossible. You could say,
guys.
I don't think it's impossible. I actually think that's a really valid point. Yeah, I do want to interject and just say I'm hopping off. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and I really enjoed the conversation.
Thanks for coming in.
Kind of heated and dense at times, but
yeah. This is like the most heated stream yet.
Goodbye, Nick. Nice talk. Nice chat.
Hey guys, I'm gonna take off too. Have a nice day, everyone.
Yo, Tim, thank you for
Tim, before you go, Timmy.
What's up?
I just wanted to say, I know you're very healthy for my sexual psychology. Just anyways, you take care. It's always been good.
Guys.
As an aside, I'd like to start making Tim drop the mic compilations.
Oh yeah.
I got very inspired watching this compilation the other day of people just getting logically dismantled. So I want to start making like little videos of people just like we could make one of Tim, we could make one of folks in the hangout. I really want to start chilling people. So I think that'd be cool.
Vegan compilations of just like
yeah.
arguments. That'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly, in practice. And yeah, I think that'd be fun. That would be fun. But yeah, guys.
All right,
ciao.
I'm taking off too, guys. Have a good
Yep.
night.
Yeah, so sorry for the argument, Logan. It got more heated than it needed. But
No, well, we need that
Aaron.
Aaron chick back on here. I would way rather yell at that Aaron chick than another vegan. That would be hilarious.
Well, yeah,
Right.
we're pretty close to aligned. It was like you say, minute differences to a degree, but like I'm just concerned about those consequences of those minute differences. But
yeah, well, I mean, I might die because I might not have enough spinach, but we'll see.
I mean, I'm sure you'll be fine, and take care either way.
Okay, see you.
8 milligrams of calcium. Damn. All right, peace.
Everyone's dropping. What's going on?
Oh, it's really
Get a bit more
time zones and whatnot.
The cool kids are still here, so don't worry about
I'm
it.
still here.
Me is still standing, mate.
To be fair, I think we'll probably do like another 15 minutes or something. Then it's like 3:30.
I'm gonna drop off in a minute. I'll need to get to bed at some point.
Yeah, I think we all need to. But this stream's been amazing, though. I think it's been my favourite stream ever.
So
I'm gonna have to rewatch because I missed most of the part with that.
Oh boy.
There's another Chris in the chat that wanted to come on and chat to us about some stuff. I don't know if he wants to come on. He's talking about hunting or something. I'm up for having a quick chat.
Yeah. So do you guys think hunting is more or less ethical compared to factory farming?
It's I put ethical in quotes, but yeah, it's probably more ethical.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Although I'm partially agnostic because I almost wonder if it's less ethical.
Hunting, you're talking about like fox hunting is banned in the UK for good reasons.
Yeah, that's definitely not ethical.
Needless. That's just for fun. That's not for. You're not going to eat. No one eats.
Yeah,
the fox, do they?
isn't it?
Yeah, nobody eats it. Like I would be totally against that sort of.
Also, you just let dogs rip them apart.
Yeah,
but what's the difference between entertainment and tongue pleasure that really makes them morally different in a way that actually?
It's a good question.
No, it's the death that's the difference.
Have you guys been to Pamplona?
No, I know what's there. That's the running of the bull, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been there because I wanted to see. I used to actually live right next to a bull ring, and I've actually seen about 2 bullfights. I would not see them again. I think they're total bullshit.
Yeah.
Can you describe what happens in them for us?
Well, in Pamplona, it's infamous that you get chased by the bull, but there's, you get to stand in the actual stadium. There's like smaller bulls, like basically like teenagers or whatever, that are around the crowds, and they're not going to do any like real damage to you unless they, realistically. And then there's like the big fight, and to be honest, it is totally 100% sort of like a cultural thing because the bull has like a I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but there's like a whole machismo thing about it, and it's like a big cultural thing. I don't completely understand it. I'm not Spanish. I don't speak enough the language. I do speak a bit of Spanish, but very badly.
Did you ever watch the bull ring with the bull master with the red cape?
Yeah, I've seen all that. I literally used to live next to the bull ring in a place called La Linea. It's right next to Gibraltar. I used to live in a place called Gibraltar. And there used to be guys with their eyes gored out, like coming on stage and stuff like that. It was a bit of a sick pantomime, to be honest. But it's a sort of like a cultural thing. And what's happening is most of the people that are down there, older people, is going to slowly die out. I think it's going to eventually be in Pamplona only as sort of like some sort of cultural curiosity that just happens to exist. Is what's happening. Like a lot of young people are interested in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I predict that's what will happen to the meat industry as well. It'll take much longer, but I think in the next 50 years, I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Maybe, I don't know.
The meat industry is a bit of a different one, though, isn't it? Because it's just the main thing is you can close bullfighting and it's not really a big problem, but shutting down the meat industry, we've got to work out what all these farmers are going to do, and what all these butcher shops are going to do. And
it's a massive industry. I mean, if you ever look at sort of
what's going to happen?
Automation will solve that problem anyway. I mean, there won't be a lot of farmers anyway in the future. It will be automated. It's going to be automated, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Halal meat?
Huh?
What's going to happen with, say, like, halal meat?
Halal meat?
Yeah, so most Islamic people don't give a monkeys about. They don't see any animal. They don't even see dogs or cats as a say. You know, they won't even keep them as pets. Dogs are dirty, pigs are dirty.
Well, strangely,
they're haram.
Well, wait. Strangely, I watched a whole documentary about slaughterhouses yesterday, and it was showing the difference between the halal slaughter and the general slaughter. And even though the halal slaughter is more brutal, they actually have more respect for the animals than the normal people.
Let them live longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, letting it bleed out and die slowly. That's,
I mean, like, but if you talk to them, like, they honestly think what they're doing is more respectful.
Yeah, because they're being told by God.
Yeah.
But don't they let the animals live longer as a principle? They say we can't kill them as babies.
I know that here in Sweden it's virtually identical to normal slaughter. The only difference is that they say a prayer. That's the only difference. It's slaughtered exactly the same way, either way, because it's actually illegal in Sweden to do halal, like actual kosher or halal slaughter when you slit the throat of a conscious animal. So and the Jews in Sweden vehemently disagree with this, so they import their meat from Denmark. So the Muslims are actually more ethical here than the Jews.
Yeah, but I just don't think that's, you know, this whole sort of like they're going to, there's going to be a massive reduction in meat eating. Yeah, maybe sort of, in the Anglosphere, I don't want to get, I don't want to sound like
a pessimist.
Pardon?
A pessimist on our beliefs.
Well, I was going to say more like a racist, but what I'm saying is that I don't think a lot of these people who are Muslims aren't going to. This isn't just in the Anglosphere. You can make this argument with if I've got a mate, my best mate's from Pakistan, and he just does not give a shit. Right, he just does not give a fuck about it.
But neither did we, like 50 years ago. So I mean, you could make the argument that they're behind, definitely.
Yeah. I know,
but that doesn't mean that they can't catch up.
I know. I'm just saying that.
But it's a different beast, definitely, when a religion is involved. When someone they think they have the mandate from God to do this, it's really, and especially if it's entrenched in the culture.
It's
like
near
those two.
It's near impossible to persuade them of anything.
Something's gotta go, definitely. Either the culture or the supposed mandate from God has to go. Something has to go, definitely.
Yeah, that's what you explained it a lot better than I did. That was what I was trying to get at. Thank you.
There's a couple of questions in the chat I just wanted to answer from Death Valley Druids. So these are quite simple ones, really.
Same. Yeah, these are good questions too.
Yeah. So why do vegans believe sentience is the source of moral value? Is the first one. So I would say, obviously, because sentience means we're self-aware, we have a will to live.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
Not self-aware.
No, in fact, a lot of vegan. I would actually link you some of the vegan thinkers who actually disagree with you. If I get one on my other PC, which is on the
I'll take that back then and simplify it to just like that we
awareness.
We have awareness of the world.
To be fair, by Death Valley Druid's own definitions, he does accept that. So
okay, so yeah, so basically, an awareness of the world and a will to live. And then the second one was, why must meat eaters name a trait in livestock animals in order to morally justify the practice of slaughtering them? It's because basically if you can't differentiate humans and animals in a way that you would accept if that difference was applied to you, then you hold a moral double standard and a hypocrite. That's the basics. Unless anyone else wants to dive in and expand on those at all?
Yeah, no, it's basically name the trait and extending ethics as far as you can while still preserving individual rights.
Just a quick one then, because this is just to improve my thing. Obviously, I said self-aware. Where did I go wrong with self-aware? I'd like to
right, so I'll have to get there was I think he was like called Singer or Price.
Peter Singer.
Yeah. So maybe it was Singer. So I have done a bit of reading about this. Maybe not a lot. So I might be talking out my arse here, and you guys might be able to correct me.
Peter Singer takes to an argument that is very different compared to most vegans, though.
He's saying, from what I'll just explain it to you how I understand it about this whole sentience thing. He's saying there's things that are totally not alive, i.e., rocks, etc. Right, and then there's things that are not sentient but are alive, so mollusks, plants. I think he might include insects in that, and then there's things that are sentient. So we're talking about sort of like mammals, reptiles, maybe reptiles. I don't think reptiles are sentient, and that's a discussion we had earlier. So, and then we're talking about things that are sentient and self-aware. So we're talking about humans, chimpanzees, maybe dolphins, or obviously smart mammals.
Okay, so just to clear it up, so I'm looking at the definition, and it says self-awareness, conscious knowledge of one's own character and feelings. So I mean, are we talking about by self-aware animals that could, for example, pass the mirror test and things like that when it comes to self-awareness?
Yeah,
I think that's one part of it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So, what was the question again?
Oh, the actual question given was, hold on, scrolling back up. Why do vegans believe sentience is the source of moral value?
Yeah, because I don't think morality is a coherent concept otherwise. Like, you can imagine a world that has everything except sentience. So there's intelligence, there's all these other qualities. Would morality be a coherent concept in that world? I would argue not.
There's nothing to perceive the universe, so there's nothing to experience well-being. There's nothing to suffer because there's no actual conscious perception. There's no sentient awareness of the universe. So it's not so much that sentience itself fundamentally concludes to moral value, but it's that to get moral value you need to start with sentient beings. There's no moral value of rocks, right? Like that's not a moral framework that makes any sense. But there's other things. So if you have a sentient being that's able to experience well-being and it has the capacity to suffer and has a desire to live, I mean that those things are what would establish a moral framework. Those are the most fundamental things that you can basically go. And sentience, to get any of those variables, you have to be starting with sentience. That's why sentience is so.
And the implication of that is let's assume scientists tomorrow found out that actually pigs, they have a way greater ability to have well-being and suffer and all that, but they're less intelligent. So they still have a greater capacity for well-being and suffering. We would have to accept.
Can I just? Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, then I think vegans would have to agree that pigs are more valuable than humans.
Yeah. Just to answer this question for myself, because if any of you speak for me, I'll fucking murk you. All right.
I love you, man.
I recognise that just for myself, I recognise that that's how I see the universe for myself. That's what I value is my own well-being. The way that I perceive the world is things that I think are good are generally things that lead to either my or someone else's well-being. Things that I think are bad are things that generally affect people and cause them suffering, or affect me and cause me suffering. That's how I interpret the world. That's how I value the things around me. And I assume that others do the same. And I assume that animals do the same, because I just assume that's it's a real deep, basic part of being an organism on the planet. Just valuing what makes you happy.
Yeah, sorry,
and there
I don't think they can do that.
And there's scientific evidence in regards to what, you know, biological organisms can or cannot, you know, experience these things, right? So we have a lot of evidence, you know, that pigs can, and, you know, the evidence, you know, that bacteria or viruses can is a joke as a concept, right?
Yeah, I mean, the same reason we apply, the same reasons we know that other humans are sentient are the same reasons we know that most animals are sentient. So we can look at behavior and we can look at neuroanatomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the two things we can look at, basically. So if you're willing to say that animals aren't sentient, you basically fall into a solipsistic trap, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and you could go that to humans.
Sorry,
too,
I'm
as
not
well.
sure solipsistic means. I'm
It's
a
like
programmer.
philosophical bedrock, where you're making no axiomatic assumptions about the universe. You could basically go there and say, well, you know, I'm not even sure that I'm thinking, but I'm aware that I perceive reality, and you could just stop right there, and that could be your only claim about the universe, and you could say,
is it like a I think therefore I am sort of thing?
No, yeah, it's basically
philosophical bedrock, but you're not moving anywhere from there. You're just staying there like an idiot.
Yeah, it's basically the claim that you are the only thing that exists.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So it's basically something that philosophers want to escape. The implication that the only thing that exists is your own mind. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a philosophical.
Okay, that's kind of like science, how we do repeatable tests, etc. Yeah,
and you could even go as far as to say that you don't even can't even be certain about your own mind. You can only be aware of your awareness. Or rather, acknowledge that your awareness exists. You could say that your mind
matrix for me, though. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's like it's just kind of stupid. And in terms of like the actual biology in science, we can easily tell, you know, evolutionary, that this didn't spring out of magic nowhere. You know, like we can look at these things and see where these things come about. I see Death brought some points that need to be addressed, because I think he's confusing sapience and sentience. This is also an important topic. Sapience is important to establish moral agency, but not moral value, right? You know, humans that aren't, you know, sapient or intelligent at all still have moral value insofar as that they're sentient. If a human is the equivalent of a rock, though, and is not sentient and has no capacity to ever be sentient ever again, unlike you know like a rock, then there is just no moral value to be had of that, which is, it's just like either a zombie or a rock. It's dead, right?
Well, that's why we kind of, you know,
right,
euthanize, you know, people who are brain dead or whatever. You know,
yeah. They're not sentient to any degree, right? You know, their organs are just kind of functioning and kind of like retaining life, rather.
He's running on like compatibility mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, sorry, I'm a geek. So, sorry.
But yeah, I think part of the issue there, though, because we do need to address that sapience versus sentience distinction in terms of moral agency versus moral value, because there's a difference between, you know, like a lion, which has no moral agency in regards to it's not able to make these types of decisions and kind of like abstractly conclude to a moral framework, and even if they could, they're obligate carnivores, so that's besides the point. Whereas humans, you know, we can do this, but that doesn't necessitate moral value. Like, I mean, moral value is different from whether you're able to function and maximize moral value or even be aware of moral value, right? It's like saying numbers, you know, 2 + 2 = 4, whether you're aware of it or not. You know, you could not be sapient, not aware of that fact.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that maybe we're working with different definitions of moral value. But I mean, I would say that, like, do you think like a say a 1-day-old baby, which, you know, can't assign moral value to another being, does it have moral value in of itself? I would say it would, but maybe you're pro infanticide, so I don't know.
Well, like, you know, I think most people,
not you, the death guy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I just respond to the chat because he's asking these questions about sapience and sentience.
You can hop into the chat if he wants to come on. Yeah, I'll send the link.
Just don't scream like that, other girl.
I can't
She
wait
was
to watch that
horrible.
back.
Bacteria.
Oh, she was literally just a really nasty person.
She's
She
hilarious.
No,
Fucking
the thing is,
crazy.
I was getting pissed off of her, and I'm like, I was
She's
kind of
just
like
so
on her
intense.
side with some stuff. I was just like, this is not the way to convince people.
Well, you
Yeah,
know,
I felt bad for you guys for sure.
some of her positions I could defend. Like I could actually go as far as to say viruses are sentient. Like I could say atoms are sentient. There are legitimate arguments for that, but then we're talking about complexity and depth of sentience, and it's still a hierarchy, and that there's still, you know, there's these things, and you know, the atoms may be sentient, but these atoms that may be sentient.
Yeah, but
I don't buy. By the way.
Yeah. This is why I was like talking about this like super organism shit, because it's kind of like the opposite way, but macro scale rather than micro scale. Does that make sense?
There are legitimate arguments that are somewhat in line with her position, but she was just so confused about so many different fundamentals and definitions, and just like things that you know,
and rude.
And rude on top of that. Like she got really offended when I asked her if she understood the term. Like, if you don't understand the term that we're talking about, I mean, then we can't, figure out whether you understand, these studies that are in relation to this term, right? If you don't understand what sentience is compared to intelligence, if you don't understand that distinction, then you're not going to be able to read these studies and understand.
Oh, you broke up a bit there, dude.
Oh, did I? Well, basically, I was just saying that you wouldn't be able to understand these studies if you don't understand, sentience versus intelligence. You wouldn't be able to make rational conclusions about these studies on that basis, right? So that's why I had so many problems with her. But I mean, there was a lot of problems with her.
I mean, sentience is a tricky concept. So
it is.
I can understand someone is misunderstands it, but what I can't stand is people who aren't smart, who think they're really smart. And that was literally Dunning-Kruger in Affector.
Yeah.
There's a Dunning-Kruger, and then there's aggressive Dunning-Kruger.
Not too often. Like, stupid people tend to become really angry when they're instead of accepting that, okay, I actually didn't know the term I'm talking about.
But the thing is, though, we have to be understanding, though. Like, I honestly was being, I was just trying to get it clear to her that, what she was doing was unacceptable. But, my behavior was probably unacceptable as well.
She wasn't trying to hear anything we had to say right from off the bat. She wasn't going to change at all.
Yeah, but
I think this gets to a bigger problem, though. Is that it's kind of like why I brought up this, like, how I said about these 4 levels. Like, we can discuss what those are, right? So I've tried to define a set of terms, right, to you, and we can discuss those. Right? We have to understand, because what I had a stupid Twitter argument with some arse hat the other night, and I just literally got pedantic as fuck because she would not use any she would not use regular language, right? Just for the sake of being difficult, right? And if you, I was trying to get at a point. What I'm saying is, you cannot communicate if you're not willing to understand what terms you're trying to
meet each other in the middle. Yeah, try and meet each other in the middle and give each other the benefit of the doubt. And be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Try to be fair. Try to define. Look, this is what I think by what sentience versus self-aware is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can have a discussion about those points, can't we? We can have a sensible discussion. But if we're going to go, well, it's not that, or don't think it's that, it's in a stupid fucking argument. It's kind of like my lizard thing. I was trying to explain that badly.
I see what you're saying there.
Define what I meant first.
Yeah, I know what you're saying with the lizards, and I kind of agree. I would put lizards as a separate, reptiles, lizards, and that sort of stuff as a separate category to mammals and stuff like that. As
they might be they might even be the lowest. If insects are let's just assume that we just scientifically know that insects are not sentient. and we could probably say like various things like maybe clams, jellyfish, and lobsters. Let's just say that none of these things are sentient. We learned this. It may be the fact that amphibians and reptiles are the lowest animals on the hierarchy. That could be a true fact, you know. But I wouldn't say that they're at a zero. I would just say that they just might be at the lowest. And you know, part of the issue is that our intuitions and what you know, what could be sentient or what would have moral value can kind of break down too as well. Like, you know, we might look at, say, like an insect and think it has, just because it's very, like, it's a complex computational robot essentially, but not really subjectively experiencing the world. So, you know, it can break down. We can do this with algorithms too, and AI that can sometimes fool us too, to at least to a degree. They're still not sentient, at least not as of yet.
Yeah, it's Turing test stuff, doesn't it? But I think the main problem is people don't define the terms beforehand.
Yeah, that's important.
Because
it's very important.
It's so interesting that you say that, because a buddy of mine is also a programmer, and he also always talks about that, how people don't define the terms they're using.
Yeah, like programmers. For example, sorry, go on, mate. I was talking over you.
I don't know if anyone was. It sounded consistent on my end, but I was just gonna say programmers really get that language is really messy and obtuse, and you really do need to define your terms. You look at AIs that make their own language. They look at our language and say, okay, well, this is bunk, and you know, it's really obtuse and not very useful, and not very clear and concise. So AIs just go ahead and make their own language, because they could be so much more efficient and clear with their and practical. Whereas ours has come arisen from a very messy, kind of progressively over time. Just it sufficed to meet its need, like it's what we need it for, but it's very imperfect. So yeah, we really do need to, like, miscommunication is oftentimes where stuff really breaks down. So I agree with you 100%.
Just a quick one. We're talking about lizard sentience. I'm just looking up at the moment about things like tegus, monitor lizards, stuff like that. If they are sentient, because obviously some people here are saying, like, they had one that acted like a 3-year-old child and they're incredibly smart, like almost as smart as their dog. I mean,
yeah, there's some like iguanas, like some of the bigger ones can actually be quite smart.
Yeah. So I mean,
but intelligence, intelligence
can
be confusing though.
No, what I was going to ask is, if within a species, say of the species of lizard or the class of lizard, would we have animals that were sentient and not sentient within that class, or would
no,
because they're all related, would they all be?
Well, yes,
they would all be,
because we have things like, for example, like I use like the example of the Asian water dragon lizard, because it's if you see it, you think it's like a PC with a reset button. It's so like obvious, but for example, fish are stupid, but things like cephalopods, which are basically like things like octopuses and cuttlefish, they have like a different style of intelligence that might not ever be able to evolve into like an intelligence like we have, because of the way how their body's formed and how, you know, nervous system runs through that. Like we have
their
lot
brain,
of
their whole body is
in our gut.
Yeah,
it like stupid stuff like that. Like these things, like
have brains on their tentacles.
Everything goes up in your brain. There's people that's basically saying they've had a replacement heart that pushes blood around their body, but it doesn't beat, and they say, "I feel weird. Like, I don't feel like me anymore," because they don't have, you know, there's so much to what you are. This is why this is getting into like transhumanism a little bit, but I don't think it's as simple as in, oh yeah, we've got a big brain or whatever, and we, you know,
totally.
There's it's kind of like you know, they have that AI for Go, that beats a human player.
But it's not sentient.
Human player, but it can't do anything else. You know.
Yeah,
maybe I'm not explaining this well, but
no, I get you 100%. I'm with you too as well, because like for example, the lizards might be more intelligent than the fish, but the fish might be more sentient and thus have more moral value, because intelligence isn't really a big moral value in terms of it's not very fundamental. It's not that important. Whereas the things that you could have it can be very confusing based off their behavior too as well. And the intelligence seems like it has some correlation with sentience, but it doesn't seem to be necessarily the case. So you could have a being that kind of fools us in thinking it's a lot more sentient than it actually is. It could be very simple in terms of its awareness, but just happens to have a lot of computational power in terms of its its neurons, but have very little awareness of reality. Whereas like you could say a fish that might say be or some other being, maybe a different lizard or something like that, that is not very bright, not very good computational power, very, very simple, but, has a much greater degree of sentience. And, what you said too as well, I would say it's mostly binary between the species, outside of like weird examples where you have like a brain dead human, right? Because you could have a non-sentient human, but you would still say that the entire human species is sentient.
Yeah.
But you could have much great degrees of individual variance within a species in terms of both sentience and intelligence, and not necessarily connected. And it would have to be so, because that's how they would have evolved it to begin with, is the ones that had a greater adaptive advantage in that regard would have been the ones that survived compared to the ones that didn't. So there would be great variation, but it would be kind of binary in terms of, like oysters are not sentient at all. And if a species is not sentient, you're not going to find a weird one-off exception outside of like the most simplest form of sentience that you could possibly imagine. So like the first sentient being in the universe, for example, would have had just the most simplest form of sentience, and had what essentially would be the minimal moral value. But but that's where moral value would probably start, though.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I'll tell you one.
Although you,
I say, one animal that's always intrigued me in whether it's sentient or not, just because I used to have them as pets, and they're so weird, is praying mantises. They're like insects, but my God, they're like aliens.
Yeah.
They're so weird, and they just seem so aware of everything. But yet they're bugs.
But that could be all. That could just all be like computational things, though. Like, you show our cell phone to a human 500 years ago, and they would have been blown the
of course,
water, right? Yeah, so it's like it's a kind of like an evolution. It's potentially an evolutionary equivalent to like extremely complex, like robotic cars, AI cars, or something like that, right? Whereas they're not sentient, and they're profoundly interesting to look at, but they might not be sentient, or they could be. And like cockroaches actually have more neurons than a lobster. So like I would say that there could potentially be a lot of insects that are sentient, like. And that's why I'm just kind of agnostic. Like I don't eat honey, for example, because I just kind of play it safe. But if there was like absolute science on this topic, I would start eating honey if that were the case, right? And if cockroaches were the only sentient insect, well, then that would be the one that I'd be concerned about. So.
Sorry, how does honey cause suffering again? Is it because we clip the wings of the queen?
Well, that's one thing. Some commercial honey producers will also destroy the hives when they don't produce.
And we replace the food with like a man-made cheaper syrup.
Yeah.
Honey is such a great topic, and it's even gray in terms of whether they're even sentient or not. So it's something that like I don't make a big concern about. Especially when people are just going vegan. Like I'm mainly concerned about the most complex and the most beings that are most concerned about sentient.
As a vegan, honey is the least thing I'm worried about. So if I consume honey by accident, I'm more concerned about that if I consume milk by accident.
Yeah.
So is it bad because we clip the wings off the queen, but is there a link? I mean, the bees are struggling, aren't they? So is there a link between us replacing their food with synthetic stuff and them not getting their actual natural food source?
Even when you smoke them and extract the honey from them, oftentimes there's still like even hundreds or more of them that are dying. But the thing is, though, I would go as far as to say, even if bees are sentient, they might still not have the kind of moral value that we're placing on them, because they could be like meeseeks in the sense that they are sentient, but they're like where their desires would align is that they don't have kind of like that individual desire for their own life. And it's more so about like more of a utilitarian collective type thing. So it wouldn't just come down to their sentience, but it would also come down to their kind of distinct, biology. If we understood them like at 100% absolute knowledge at a genetic level, and there's a lot of ways that you might find that they would actually prefer to be in the cow situation, in terms of you could do all the sorts of things for them that we would consider immoral, but to them they'd be like, we just want to be as numerous as possible. That's our main concern. It's more about being like how big we can get our collective and maintain it. If that was like their actual where their desires would be aligning, if they had those types of desires, then it would still be moral, even if they were sentient. So it's more complex.
So how they perceive the world, again, I perceive the world in terms of my own well-being and stuff like that. How they perceive the world is morally relevant. But we have to make the assumption, because we don't know enough, we think that we have to make the assumption that it's like, I value the world in terms of my well-being and the well-being of people I care about and the well-being of, I extend that principle. So I assume that others do. That they don't, then the circumstances have changed, Yeah,
assume they do, unless can be proven otherwise.
If their interests don't align like that, right, too, as well, and if we do find it's immoral to at least some degree, if we find aliens that are more advanced comparatively to us than we are to bees, and they say, well, we actually have like almost infinitely more moral value than you humans compared to you humans and your bees. You're much more like each other in terms of both sentience, intelligence and sapience and every other factor that could possibly be of moral value. You have more in common with the bee. They would be in the right, assuming I was working with that framework, that it was just my moral value was just kind of arbitrarily, the numbers are so great that I don't care. Just intellectual consistency and just intellectual honesty in terms of the fact that we don't know is the reason why I don't
consume honey. Sorry, go on. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson brought up a good. A lot of these scientists bring up a lot of good vegan topics without actually realizing it. But Neil deGrasse Tyson had a conversation with Richard Dawkins, and he said the difference between us and chimpanzees in DNA is like 1%, 2% maybe. Intelligent wise or whatever. And he said, and look at how good, and if we get an intelligent chimpanzee and we say, oh, look at this guy, he can do basic math. What if like the smartest alien or the aliens who are far more advanced than us come along and go, oh, look at this human, he can do calculus. Stephen Hawking can do calculus in his head. Right. So how will they look at us if the majority of us are doing these like?
Have you guys ever watched 2001?
That sounds familiar. Maybe I think of 2012. I don't know. There's a lot of numbers.
If you watch 2001, right, or read the book, if you watch the movie, it answers most of these questions.
Read 1984. Kind of
no, 2001, a movie. So, this is getting into something that's totally different than veganism. So, what there's different levels of civilization, right? It's called the Kardashev scale.
Yeah. It's like, you got civilizations that can control the weather,
we're on like
control the
0.9
planet
at the moment,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, we're not even at 1. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I read that.
Yeah, so 0's like we're burning shit to keep warm, right? 1 is we're like using the power of the sun, whether that's or a power of a star. So whether that's like nuclear fusion power or solar power, whatever, right? Or a Dyson sphere would probably go into that.
I thought Dyson sphere was like stage 3 or something.
I can't remember, but 2 is the power of the solar system. 3 is the power of the galaxy. 4 would be the power, like being able to harness the power of the universe, right? So the whole movie is a Type 1 civilization, being us in 2001. This film was made in 1965 or 1967 or something like that, right? They was assuming we'll be at this sort of level of 2001. We're almost there,
Yeah, not too far. Pretty good.
You can forgive Stanley Kubrick, right? So basically making contact with the Type 3 civilization, and this is the whole idea of the sort of like monoliths. So the apes meet the monolith, and the apes learn how to use tools. Then we go to the moon, find the other monolith, and then they know that we're clever enough to go to the moon, get the monolith, and then they say, right, this other monolith is all the way out at Jupiter, and if you're smart enough to get there, we know that you're ready to the next level. That's the whole movie, right? If you haven't seen it. It's more mystical than that, and everybody has different interpretations, but that is how I forget the writer's name. I think it was Arthur C. Clarke intended it to be, but Stanley Kubrick made it more mystical than that. So, watch the movie anyway, make your own mind up. But that was a general idea. So this is, and the idea of the probes is that you do not send Captain Kirk out on a starship to go around the universe, right? You send a probe out, and it goes to a planet, and it goes and reproduces 1,000 of it, and then these probes go to another solar system, and then they find somewhere it can reproduce itself, and then go. So basically, you exponentially get more information about the universe or the galaxy or whatever you want over time, right? That's the whole idea behind it. That's the whole idea of the probes. So the monoliths are probes, and they're also basically like, look, there's something going on here, and we're not sure what it is. Let's see if they get up to this level. So that's the alien thing for you.
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic, and that's part of like my logical consistency. I hope those aliens are vegan and they're not interested in just tasting Type 1 civilization. Hopefully they just figure out a way to take these atoms and then turn it in a way that they can energize their body in a way that's
maybe they're like us, that they observe and allergy or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
The thing is that these conversations get a little bit fanciful.
Yeah. There could be bad Type 3 civilizations and good ones, and they could be even at odds against each other too. So it's kind of it's a complex topic, and there's only so much we can know and speculate on. But it is interesting. Like you say, it's not so much related to veganism, but it's related to ethics. That's for sure.
Well, that's the reason why I went vegan. I just thought, well, what if it was a creature was doing this to us? And like I just, as soon as I made that connection, I thought, well, how could I condone that? You wouldn't. What if a creature was doing this to us? You wouldn't accept it. So yeah, that's where my logic comes from. I don't know what you want anyone wants to say about that, but
I have nothing on that really.
no.
I think we're all in agreement. It's an interesting topic, but I mean, there's only so much that we could say outside of various hypotheticals that we might disagree on, or put in opposition to each other. But
well, I'd like to comment on Erin and just make a comparison. So I think that people who are very strongly against veganism are effectively arguing from ignorance. I mean, they don't really know much about veganism. They're just arguing from a sense of their own sort of established,
cultural beliefs.
Yeah. And so that's it basically. So you'll get. So Erin was a perfect example. She was bringing up all the ridiculous arguments vegans have come across for years.
Yeah. Well, and insofar as they're just not smart enough to understand it, I mean, no one chooses to have a low IQ. You can't hold that against anyone, right?
No. So, I don't have the highest IQ in the world.
I think she was. I think it's not she was dumb. I think she was just.
Well, no, she's actually. I think she's like 37 or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. I know her.
Well, okay. I suppose it's like dating pictures, isn't it?
She, I kind of, I'm familiar with her in other areas. I don't think she's dumb, but I mean, insofar as someone is not smart enough to understand a topic, I mean, that's not their fault either, too. So insofar as that either they're uninformed or not smart enough or just confused or just so ideologically possessed that, that they can't come to any conclusion on any topic of moral value.
I would say it's more that. It's more cognitive dissonance and a resistance to a change of the thoughts.
This kind of comes down to the whole free will versus non-free will too. Like if you're supposing free will, it's like, well, you chose to murder that someone and you could have not done that. Where it's just I would say that you have something wrong with you, or you're either mentally ill or not very smart. There's going to be some sort of environmental circumstances that why you came to those positions, whether they're dumb positions or whether you're religious or not. I mean, there are people that are Scientologists, and it's just they're unfortunate. If you're a Scientologist, you're unlucky.
So it's like any sort of one of the things, because I used to be a real hardcore sort of atheist, right? And I used to think I thought, oh yeah, all the religious people are stupid, or they're being, the people at the top are being,
many of them are stupid,
disingenuous, or but there's plenty of smart religious people out there, and they just happen to believe different things because of different reasons, right? And it took me a long while because I thought, I have the super logical position about this. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have some stupid things. I have an Amiga 1200 on my desk and I still use it regularly. It's completely fucking pointless. It's a 30-year-old computer. Well, I'm still using it because I like using it. There's no other reason. It's completely irrational. It's people in England of a certain age will know exactly what I'm talking about, what computer that is. It's basically if you were around about 35 to 40, you would have had an Amiga, or you would have known somebody who had an Amiga.
I used to have an Amiga. I used to love my Amiga.
I've got two, mate. I've got one on my screenshot, mate. That's how much I love them.
I used to program on Amos Pro on it.
Yeah. I've got something similar, but thing is, it's completely irrational, right? It's just because I have this nostalgia for the platform, right? It's completely, I've got a current gaming PC with the latest and greatest graphics card and the 4 gigahertz processor and 32 gig of RAM. I also do my day job on this, so it has to be fast. But it's completely completely sort of like irrational that I still muck around with these things.
I gotta ask you a quick question though, because this is something what FriendEd also says. Humans are oftentimes irrational. We don't come to all our conclusions rationally. That's one thing, but there's a difference between accepting that we're just apes and we make mistakes and we're confused about all sorts of various things, and there's that understanding but still trying to be as logically consistent and rational as possible and evidence-based, right? And then there's also just throwing our hands up in there and it's like, well, we're apes and we're constantly doing irrational dumb things, so just throw your hands up in there and give up and not even worry about being rational, because obviously there's a lot of things that are wrong with that, right?
Yeah, so what I say to that is it's kind of like I was making in the other previous stream, the actual friend stream, I was saying to this guy I can't remember his name. I think he's been all right. There was another guy who's been a complete dick. But this guy was being all right. And he was I was saying to him, look, there's moderation about everything, right? I used to like go in, when I was younger, I used to like go in and sort of like, I used to fight like dudes in a cage, like in MMA, right? Because I used to want to get my aggression out that way, right? That's not logical, right? That was just sort of like a thing I was interested in, because at the time I thought it was going to be like this. I wanted to be like, I've seen loads of martial arts for movies and whatever, and after I got a few beatings, I realised I wasn't a hard man really. I was just tough enough to get hit in the face a few times, not fall on the floor. And what I'm getting at is, oh shit, I lost my train of thought. So what I'm saying is that you have to sort of like sometimes let yourself not be kind of like totally logical and just kind of like just accept that to a little bit. And there's I'm back on track now. Sorry. So you have to let this be okay with that. And then sometimes it's like, how Jordan Peterson says, it was like saying to Joe Rogan or something, you are a monster, right? But you know how to control that monster. So that's what makes you more sort of. So in some ways, I agree with you on that. Is that you're controlling yourself more than I am, and I'm controlling myself to an extent. Mm-hmm. Because we're not sort of like completely running on those impulses. So you accept that you have these impulses and that you are rational.
Trying to manage them. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a complex one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I would go as far as to say that rationality and emotions are like in the biological framework, it's impossible to separate them. Whereas like abstractly, we can say what's logically consistent in that abstraction. But in terms of our context as human beings, as animals, these things are inherently inseparable. So, for example, our rational beliefs affect our emotions. So, if you actually believe that your wife is being tortured and about to be killed, if you don't do X, you're going to experience a lot of anxiety and stress. It's going to affect your emotions. So, your intellectual, rational beliefs affect your emotions, and your emotions also affect your ability to come to rational conclusions. So, for example, if you're in a distressed state or if you're very angry, it affects your ability to come to rational conclusions. So, like as are the apes that we are, these things are inherently inseparable. But there is that abstraction of like taking the ape out of the equation and trying to be as logically consistent as possible and trying to take the emotions out of the equation, which is ideal in most situations that are of moral concern, right? We want to be as rational as possible when it comes to important topics, especially things like things that could impact all of humanity, whether it's something like nukes. Let's just say nukes were far more powerful than that they are, and one nuke being set off could destroy the galaxy. Obviously, it would be of rational importance to try to take emotions out of the equation and try to figure out what to do about that situation. So it's
Yeah, but at the same time, like for example, there's a lot of people who make the argument that the only reason we haven't had a third world war is because we have this nuclear standoff.
Oh yeah. You know, there could be logic to that argument, but it would be logic, and we would be trying to be logically consistent within that framework too as well. So basically, what I'm just saying is that like there's that ape context, and then there's that abstraction context, and you know we try to strive towards consistency and clarity, and you know when in regards to things that actually matter. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah, because it seems like FriendEd would what he would do, and maybe this isn't what he holds, but it's what I get from him, and is that it's like it's an understanding that us apes are messy, but then his conclusion to that is just to throw his hands up in the air and just kind of devalue logic as something to even value, and I think that is a kind of absurd. But maybe
I don't. I think that's a little bit unfair, but I'm not going to speak for him.
It may be unfair, and maybe that's not his genuine position, but that's just a lot of the stuff that I get from the how he talks about these topics, and I don't think that, and I think there's nuance to it too as well, because he tries to be specific in regards to just trying to accept reality and some other things too as well, but it's I think he is a little more obtuse and not very clear on that topic, and he goes as far as to say that like logic isn't how we should be trying to make our decisions, and insofar as he actually believes that, I think he's very wrong. But if he doesn't, then good for him. I just would hope he would be more clear about it if he could.
It's a difficult one for me, because I think some things, some sort of like things that we can all agree on aren't necessarily 100% logical, but there are sort of like benefits from not from those things being like taboo or illegal, etc. So it gets into a bit of it gets into this sort of like quandary. It's like what is good, what is bad, and nobody. I don't, maybe this was getting to what sort of like some stuff Chris was saying if FriendEd on the original stream was, I don't think anybody can say that doing X will be basically beneficial to everybody. It's kind of like the nutrition argument, like saying, "Oh, if you just do X, it'll be a silver bullet or magic bullet or whatever the term's supposed to be." I just don't see that as realistic, and everybody's an individual and everybody's different, so you can't just have a magical sort of like thing that's just going to work for the whole world. I'm a cyclist, right? And lots of people say, "Oh, if everybody just cycled work, oh yeah, we'll stop global warming," and it's bollocks.
No, I agree.
They're shipping their kit China on these big, huge vessels that use thousands of tons of diesel to get across the ocean, and then after a few months they chuck it away and buy another one that gets shipped on the same vessel again. You know what I'm getting at? It's just
people oversimplify a lot of topics. I agree with you 100%, and there's a lot of variation and needs, and people ignore a lot of variables like economic sustainability and stuff like that too as well. So I agree with you 100%. Global warming is a big concern, but the solutions to it can be a bit more complex. If you're like, I'm disabled, so being able to bike is not really a sustainable issue depending on the kind of environment.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like I have a friend who's got epilepsy. He can't ride a bike. He can't drive. Because of his affliction.
Yeah,
and
he may take drugs to alleviate that, but it still could be concerned. Like I'm a narcoleptic, and I take drugs to prevent falling asleep randomly throughout the day and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's not 100% solution to my problem, and it's not a very good idea for me to be bicycling in like heavy traffic in a city for an extended period of time, even outside of my physical disability. So that could be problematic in its own ways, right?
Yeah. So I think my sort of I'm maybe not explaining myself well, but the thing for me is that this one size fits all will, everything will be magically better. It's for me, it's just so unrealistic.
Yeah,
and
but they're
also
it's not black and white either
it's
that
not
way.
going to work practically as well. I'm a practical person. I'm an engineer, so
but
I see solutions as right. What there's a cost. This is kind of what FriendEd was saying. There's cost benefit analysis to every solution, right? So
Totally.
you can make, like, say for example, the space shuttle, right? It was a great bit of kit, but it could never go to the moon because it had to make certain trade-offs in its design. It just didn't have.
We weren't at that level of technology, and we need to design it for like a specific purpose, maximize it, right?
Yeah, you can make Saturn V. Yeah, brilliant, but it was only supposed to go to the moon.
But
it was there for.
But at the same time, though, there's also the difference between saying that one solution doesn't solve all the problems, but then you can also make like statistical statements that the vast majority of population could do X to drastically improve problem Y, right? So there's also like statistical things. So like public transit versus you could actually have a population that saves time. You have a very dense population. Everyone driving in Beijing is not a practicable solution.
No.
Right. So it's not going to solve a thing. You need to have efficient, public transit and other alternatives.
But the thing is, right? Mm-hmm. This is something that was in that ethical butcher book I was talking about before, right? Mm-hmm. Is he's saying that sometimes if you only think about things in a certain way, you would only like have certain solutions that you think are available. Now, I work at home, so I would say everybody, to alleviate that problem, let's not even think about going anywhere. Why not just give everybody a laptop, give everybody a VPN connection if they work in an office, and just let them remote in? You know what I'm saying? I've done
my work for some businesses
having to commute.
That might be efficient for some situations. That might even be better, or it might be neutral. And it could be drastically worse for some situations where you need to be there in person. Like, I mean, it varies greatly. But...
Yeah, but my point is that if you make the assumption that you have to travel, you already limited yourself to a certain amount of options to solve that problem. If you say, look, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, you can't. You have to have your assumptions based in real logic and evidence. You can't just make arbitrary assumptions. I agree with that 100%. Like, you can't just you're just assuming that you need to travel, but that might not be the case. There could be other solutions that may even work better, and that are just you're not aware of. So yeah, I agree with you there. But it's also like in relation to veganism. I'm not sure if you're even going there, if you're just talking more generally.
Yeah, no, I was talking more generally on that. To be honest.
Yeah. Because like the health thing, is honestly not a big concern for me, because the only thing that I necessarily care about is that the most optimal diet that you're able to reach on an omnivore diet is also reachable on a vegan diet. That's my only concern, and my concern is just about the morality of it and the suffering. Like, assuming that if humans actually required to eat meat to survive, then it would be morally justified. But since that's not the case, then it isn't. So then the only reason why we would do it is just because of desire. And I don't even think that's a problem. It's not even meat that's necessarily the issue. If you're making it out of atoms, I don't have an issue with that either. If you want to eat like the least healthiest foods, regardless, if it's not, if you're not eating my baby or my children or other sentient beings that have the capacity to suffer, then it doesn't concern me ethically.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but it's kind of I think you get most of it. Like, what you're saying all makes sense to me too as well. Like, same wavelength, definitely.
So
Oh, guys, just to let you know, we're probably gonna have to wrap this up in a second.
Yeah, we probably should do that soon.
In the morning now.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
for you,
4 in the
man.
morning for us UK folk here. So.
Oh damn! Damn. Yeah.
But no, Dave, quickly
concerned.
finish
It's
up
getting
anyway.
like-
Closing
it's getting
statements.
like 10,
or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. This was great, by the way. This was an awesome stream.
It was really good fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was productive. It was interesting, and it was flaring. I'm not sure what else to describe it as, but it was spicy.
I'm pretty sure I called. What's your name again, Mix?
Luke. Yeah, you probably called me a cunt or something. It's all right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I called your argument stupid or like I was a bit insulting. I apologize.
No, it's mate, we just got into it at one point. It's fine, dude.
I think with just Aaron in the call at the same time, it made everyone's emotions just go haywire too. Because it's hard not to get influenced by that. It's and even in being completely like clear-minded might not even be beneficial because you almost want to get it through to her in a way when she's trying to talk over to us. We almost have to be a little bit more rude because sometimes that's actually more useful, more practical.
Well, you could tell she wasn't going to move anywhere. She had already decided what she was going to do. And it was like, okay, she wants to go to war, so let's go to war and have a spectacle.
Yeah, she got destroyed.
Yeah, well, I apologize I do apologize for, the stuff I said. I don't.
Fine, Dave. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, because you're an all right guy. I'm okay with you. It was it was Aaron that I actually kind of wanted to make her look like a fool. So that's what part of the reason to at least so she could hopefully get through her Dunning-Kruger syndrome.
She'll probably wake up or maybe grow it in a little while. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows, mate? Who knows? We can all change.
Optimistic, yeah. That's.
I wish her the best. No one chooses to be uninformed or stupid or no one even choose If you have an IQ of 75, that's unfortunate. And if you're having trouble coming to, important conclusions, and I'm not even saying that's her necessarily, but that's unfortunate. Like you're unlucky, and statistically you're even unlucky. So it's, it's like it's a hard topic too. I mean, there's actually I have almost qualms about vegans just because it almost is disproportionately represented within people that are smarter than average. There are weird, you almost have to convince most of the population before you can convince at least some portion of the population that isn't convinced by the emotion and still isn't really able to logically follow. Like it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of how it is. Like there was low IQ people that owned slaves and they had trouble kind of understanding why they were doing it was immoral. It's just reality, I guess. It's unfortunate, but.
Oh, we all had a good giggle.
Yeah.
Right, we better go to sleep because, or you guys get on with your day. I don't know what time it is for you guys. But...
No, I gotta go to sleep soon. I think it's like 9 or 10 or something like that. But that's still, I'm tired.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, guys. It's been a good one.
This was awesome.
And there'll be another live stream soon. Like, subscribe to everyone who's been in the chat. Make sure you hit that notification button.
Yeah.
Sign up to my Patreon. No one signed up to it yet. Be the first person.
I don't think you can donate less than $1, can you? I would have. I don't want to be the first kind of.
I'll let the guy get a bed. Come on.
Give you like 50 Canadian pesos a month.
It's definitely not an essential thing anyway. But it all helps. And thanks for everyone who super chatted me tonight. That's been really nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But from what I can gather, the FriendEd's not posting the debate up on his channel himself. I'm posting half of it, and Philosophical Vegan's posting the other half. So I'm basically posting up until I get shut down.
Is his YouTube channel actually Philosophical Vegan? By the way?
I don't know. I don't actually know what his YouTube channel is at all, to be honest. I just know about the forum, but I don't actually know what his channel is.
Yeah, because I was on my phone and then it died, so I actually have no clue what his channel was.
Yeah,
so.
Me neither. But when I find out, I can let everyone know. Anyway, it'll be linked below the bit of the stream
awesome.
I did anyway. But yeah, right. Let's go to bed. Yeah.
Good night.
Exciting.
Take
Right,
care.
night, everyone. We'll speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Take it easy, everyone.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. See you, Luke.
Bye.
Bye, Vohan. I hope you're not too drunk.